Welcome to a sparkling new podcast from Mike Parry and Mike Graham. We're the two Mikes.
Actually, it sounds even better when you do it Dullsville, because when you try to be happy and excited and energetic, you sound pathetic.
Thanks.
We have produced a vinyl disc with content on it.
We've produced a DVD.
Yeah.
And
what are DVDs made of?
DVD is not made of vinyl.
They're made of vinyl.
Good afternoon, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry. You're listening to the Two Mikes on Talk Sport. It's another star-studded show today with a host of guests from world heavyweight champion Anthony Joshua to countdown's maths genius Rachel Riley. We've got Oz Clark coming on for a bit of wine tasting, and of course it's the Porky quiz today as well. And after Rod Stewart phoned the show this week, it has to be all about him. I'm predicting 2 out of 10, even though the Porkmeister says he's a very good close personal friend. And if that's not enough, we're looking ahead to our live commentary game tonight in the Europa League, Zorya Luhansk versus Manchester United. It's a frozen pitch. Jose Mourinho's not very happy, but it is going ahead. 08717 22 33 44. You're listening to the Two Mikes with me, Mike Graham, and Mike Parry on Talk Sport. This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mikes, and I'm delighted to say that it's time to say a very, very good afternoon to Mr. Mike, a Porky, a Parry. A very good afternoon to you, Mr. Parry.
And a very good afternoon to you, Mike.
A bit disorganised.
No, I'm not disorganised. I'm just
late into the studio.
No. There are things to be done. You know, if you want to get it right, there are things to be done.
Faux leather bag in obvious view.
No.
So, what do you make of this Twitter poll that's currently ongoing? Started by one of our fans, Michael, his name is.
I didn't know anything about this.
Who out of the Two Mikes would you prefer as your boss? Well, this was apropos of your conversation yesterday where you said that you were a better boss than I was.
Yes.
At the moment, so far, the voting is as follows. 70% say me, 30% say you. Of those of 30%, by the way, they say you'd be a much better boss because you'd be much easier to pull the wool over the eyes of with expenses and that kind of thing. And also, you'd be bladerated by most lunchtimes, so they'd be able to get away with lots in the afternoon.
Yeah, well, you see, that is all scurrilous nonsense. The point is that everywhere I've been, I've eventually become the boss because
that's not true.
That's the way that my life has worked.
That's incorrect.
No, I think you'll find it's right. And
which newspaper were you the editor of?
Sorry?
Which newspaper were you the editor of?
The editor's not the boss at a newspaper. The news editor is the boss, and I've been the news editor everywhere I've gone.
That's what you thought.
But I'm telling you, that's the day-to-day running. It's a bit like...
Did you tell that to the editors of the newspapers you spoke to last night? You're not really the boss of your company. You're actually just being run by the news desk. Is that what you told them?
I've no idea what you're talking about,
really?
Honestly. I mean, you know, I think you're drifting into a Christmas spirit syndrome.
Really?
Yes, I think you are.
Yes, well, we've got lots to talk about. You know, we've got the heavyweight champion of the world coming on, Anthony Joshua.
Absolutely brilliant.
He's fighting, of course, Eric Molina this weekend.
Yes.
We've got Rachel Riley coming on.
I know, it's great.
Who's a countdown maths genius.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping you're going to be on your best behaviour for that.
Why is there so much heat in this building?
What do you mean?
Well, you know, we were in a studio earlier doing a bit of preparatory work for this show, and it was 33 degrees.
Yes.
Why was it 33 degrees?
Because unfortunately the thermostat appears to have been stuck at 33 degrees.
Which is like working in a sauna.
Hey, speaking of which, how's the thing going with the 3 degree?
What?
The girl, Sarah Ferguson. Not Sarah Ferguson. What's her name?
Her name was Sheila Ferguson.
Sheila Ferguson.
Yes.
Yeah, how's that going? I thought you were going to go and see her in Panto.
What do you mean, how's it going?
Well, how's it going? You were supposed to be going out to dinner with her. You're supposed to be going to see her in her Panto up in Norfolk somewhere.
I don't think our millions of listeners are interested in my private life.
Yes, they are.
I mean?
Yeah, actually, they are.
I mean,
far more interested in your private life than you know.
No. Getting back to the heat, right? So 33 degrees down there.
You're not getting anywhere.
We then come up here, and I find...
Is that the story?
And I find that it's 24 degrees in here, which I've just...
Is it?
Yeah.
Well, you see, after being in the 33 degrees, I thought it was quite cool.
Yeah, well, it's not. So so that scrambles your brain the minute that you try to walk into an environment like that. But anyway, my brain is not scrambled.
That's good. It's good to know.
You're absolutely right. Now, there's a couple of issues that I
don't know why you've suddenly picked up on this World Cup story, because we talked about this ages ago, the World Cup.
Not 48.
Yes.
It was never, ever proposed to be 48.
Yes, because they're going to seed the teams, right, and they're going to allow the smaller teams to play against each other in the group stage, and then they're all going to go through to the bigger stage later on, which is the knockout stage. So it's actually not going to have a deleterious effect on the bigger teams. It's not going to mean that big, important and very, very good teams play very small and minnow-like teams. It's going to mean that more countries have access to playing in the group stage of the World Cup.
No, it's not. This is the finals. This is in the finals.
Yes, I know that.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is,
that.
It was a ridiculous idea last time you and I discussed it. In fact, the FIFA president, Gianni Infantino, is actually going to put it on the agenda for the next FIFA meeting.
Yeah, I know he is.
And it could actually be passed. So that 16 groups of 3 teams play. How ridiculous is that?
It's not ridiculous.
It'll talk about saturation point for a competition. It's
not
ludicrous.
Ridiculous. It's actually less ridiculous than having smaller teams teams qualify into a group stage that they completely have no point in playing in because you know they're never going to get through.
Yeah.
It's actually much fairer.
Yeah.
You're not listening, are you?
The point is that you're trying to make out that we've talked about all this before.
Well, we have
talked about all this before.
Well, it's been around. This is as an idea. This has been around for at least 28 days.
It's not an idea.
Longer.
It's now a proposition.
Yes,
it's going into the agenda on FIFA.
And that's why we talked about it before.
You ask any of our millions of listeners out there, they'll tell you that if you have a competition where 16 different groups are playing over the space of 21 days, it is massive oversell to a competition,
no,
it means you will have some very poor teams in it. The reason why...
Well, we already do have poor teams in it, like England, for example, in Brazil.
The reason
why useless.
The reason why the UEFA championships were always seen to be superior to the World Cup is that they confined themselves to 16 teams. So you had 4 groups of 4.
Anymore.
Exactly, 4 groups of 4, and the quality of the football was always sparklingly high.
But the point about
the World Cup, you had Holland playing Portugal and Germany playing France and England playing
you live, unfortunately,
Italy.
You live, unfortunately, under the misapprehension that we are still somehow in the 1970s and 1980s, where only certain countries were the sort of masters of football, and that is no longer the case. Football is now a global sport, as we can see from the fact that it's going to Russia for 2018. It's then going to Qatar. In 2026. It may well be the United States of America, or it may be in South America. But the point is that it is now a properly global sport, and you can't just say to countries that you are no longer going to be getting any chance of getting into the World Cup finals just because you're a smaller country with less money and less ability to produce homegrown players.
But you shouldn't then take the minor countries to the finals of a competition because you devalue the competition.
No,
it's quite as simple as that.
No, you don't.
The finals
you actually make the competition better.
No, you don't. The finals of the World Cup should be a showplace and a showpiece and a shop window.
I disagree.
For the very best of football, the cream at the top.
I disagree.
Not the cream at the top and the watered down milk that lies below it.
But you say that England should be part of that cream at the top because England will always qualify for the World Cup. Sorry, I don't see why England have any more right to play in the World Cup than, say, Cameroon do or the
England should be invited
Papua
into
New
every
Guinea.
World Cup.
No, they shouldn't.
Yes, they should.
Absolute nonsense.
England shouldn't have to qualify for a World Cup.
Errant xenophobic nonsense.
No, it's not, because
yes, it is.
England are the biggest football nation in the world.
Let's look.
They're not. They are.
It's absolute rubbish.
No, they are. I'm not saying that we've got the best football team in the world, but I'm saying we are the biggest football nation.
That's not true. You think England is a bigger football nation than Brazil? You are having a laugh.
By a mile, mate.
On what basis?
You ask any...
On what basis?
I'll tell you. You ask any organiser of any competition, who's the first team you'd invite to this competition if you wanted to be a commercial success?
What, you mean because more England fans go to World Cups?
And more England people pay to watch England than any other country in the world.
Well, that's not any reason why they should be in the World Cup.
You would invite England first.
No, that's not any
Without
reason why.
England, a competition is dead in the water.
That's rubbish.
It's dead in the water.
Absolute rubbish.
We take more fans.
So you're telling me that the
World
Cup...
more commercial
You're telling
activity.
me that the World Cup in 2014 was a failure because England went out in the group stage?
Largely.
No, it wasn't.
Largely.
Absolute rubbish.
Well, also a fact that the home nation, Brazil, got battered senseless. But the absence of England... You ask...
All right, let me ask you a question.
You're way short on your commercial knowledge. You ask any organiser what ruins a competition, it's the absence of England.
I'm not disputing the facts that you're presenting to me. What I'm saying is that those facts do not guarantee, or neither should they guarantee, that England get invited to every tournament just because they can make the hosts a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
No, it's not.
That is the worst kind of FIFA-driven nonsense, right? Here's the real reason why we need to change the system. Look at the qualifying group that England are in right now.
Yes.
Is there anybody in there that you think should go to the World Cup finals?
Apart from England, no.
Well, so why are we even playing them?
Well, I've been banging that drum for years, and now you're just picking up on it.
No,
but you're telling me that my similar argument...
No, I'm saying the qualification process is flawed, needs to be improved, so that the World Cup finals can be better. That's the point.
You're telling me that my same argument for the finals of the World Cup in potentially 2026 is... ridiculous to oppose it. You're just opposing what I've just said.
No, that's not
true. Should not happen.
No, that's not true. Anyway, we're not going to just keep arguing about that nonsense because clearly you've got it very muddled in your head.
No.
We're going to talk to Anthony Joshua. We're going to talk to Rachel Riley. We're going to also talk to Oz Clarke later on with a bit of wine tasting.
Oz Clarke?
Oz Clarke, famous wine taster.
Oh, we're going to have to taste some wine then.
You may have to.
What?
I may have to. So you better gird your loins. Look how happy you look. This is Talk Sport.
Love is real. Real is love. Love is feeling, feeling love. Love is wanting to be loved. Love is touch.
about John Lennon now.
Well, I mean, you know already, don't you? And the whole of the world knows. You told me this morning on Tube Train, people writing John Lennon lyrics on the advertising holdings and all that kind of stuff. It was very, very sadly on December the 8th, 1980, that John Lennon was massacred on the streets of New York. And I've never got over it. I really, really have never got over it because of the terrible waste. You know, when a talent like John Lennon's put on earth, you hope that he's going to be here for about 80 years and expand the very limits of his talent. He only got about halfway through his life and then bang, gone. And it's such a terrible waste because those records that he would have written in the last 40 years that.
You don't know that,
the last 30,
I mean, I'm not
36 years.
You don't know that he would have got better. He might have got worse.
Well, he was on a.
What's happened to Paul McCartney?
Well, that's a bit unfair. Paul McCartney's been a genius all his life, and
he hasn't written anything great, has he, in recent times?
Well, you say that, but I would disagree. I mean, he had a great run with Wings, and what's more,
but that was 30 years ago.
Yes, I agree, but trends change and attitudes change, and young kids pick up on new bands and new groups and all that kind of stuff. There's still a huge, massive loyal following for Paul McCartney around the world, as exhibited every time he does a live show, or a live tour. But the Lennon thing. Lennon was a one-man mission in life, if you understand what I mean, in a way that Paul McCartney's not.
He was a very interesting character. He was much more than just a songwriter.
Is for a man, who carries genius in his head, Paul McCartney's an extremely well-balanced guy, isn't he? And very, obviously very able. John Lennon was a one-man wrecking ball to the establishment.
Well, he was a bit of a philosopher as well.
He was a philosopher, and a lot of things that he, philosophised about, it was great. One of his most famous quotes, which I all the time refer to, is, life what happens when you're busy doing other things. That means that, you and I working today and, out there in the great wide world, I don't know, mortgage rates might be going up or might be a family crisis developing or something like that. He was a brilliant man. I always say, and I don't mean it as a joke, I mean it sincerely, I believe he was... had a huge part in the bringing down of the Berlin Wall, because once kids in the communist world started to listen to Beatles records, they wanted to be in the West.
No.
And that
when did the Berlin Wall come down?
Berlin Wall came down in 91, didn't it?
89.
89, OK.
When did they start listening to Beatles music?
In 63.
Right.
But
That's a long time.
It took those years.
Nothing to do with the
it took those decades.
You might as well say it was Deep Purple that they were listening to.
No, honestly.
Or Led Zeppelin.
No, it wasn't. John Lennon was against war. He was against oppression. He was against incarceration. And that was all happening in the communist world. But you've got to remember...
it was also happening in every other part of the world.
Yeah, but Mike, you've got to remember
that... He was also against the Vietnam War.
Yes, and he ended the Vietnam War, in my view. Well, why did Richard Nixon want to kick him out of America? Because he was so influentially against the Vietnam War.
Richard Nixon was a paranoid maniac who thought that anyone who didn't agree with him should be locked up.
But he also
or bugged.
But he also didn't like the fact that John Lennon wrote songs like "War Is Over" and was a very, very vocal opponent to the Vietnam War, even though the land of his birth, the UK, wasn't involved in it. He nevertheless said, "Why are we sending American soldiers to die on the battlefields of Southeast Asia?"
He wanted to live in America.
Yeah, of course he wanted to live in America.
There's nothing wrong with hailing him as a great philosopher, a fantastic lyricist, a great musician. But I think you'd get carried away when you start saying
I don't get carried
that
away.
John Lennon was responsible for the fall of the Berlin Wall, the end of the Vietnam War, and the end of all wars across the world.
In 1963, there was no way that an 18-year-old teenager in Moscow or St. Petersburg could listen to a Beatles record unless it was smuggled in on a piece of vinyl. What happened in the 80s was that technology allowed them to access Beatles music.
They were listening to it way before.
No.
Yeah, they were.
And well, yes, but not in such volume. That's what I mean. And then when they realised what the West was like, largely through Western pop bands, it wasn't just John Lennon. It was.
You don't think television had anything to do with it?
Well, television, of course, had something to do with it. But on television, you see rock concerts in the Western world where 120,000 people congregate to celebrate, Freddie Mercury and Queen and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So Lennon was a huge part of that. I
think you're getting carried away.
I'm not getting carried away. He was a great philosopher.
This is why people get fed up with you talking about him all the time, because you come out with such arrogant nonsense. And I mean, it's one thing to say he's a brilliant man, and one thing to say that you hate the bloke who killed him and gunned him down, and that you think he should have been given the death penalty and all that sort of thing.
Well, but, I've never said that. I think incarcerating him for a long, long time is better because
he's getting out, isn't he?
Well, I hope not. I mean,
I thought he had.
No, we read a piece earlier this year, didn't we, that he's going through some sort of programme now where he's allowed conjugal rights with his latest
Chapman.
squeeze, Mrs. Chapman or something, whatever, in some sort of a caravan in the grounds of a prison somewhere. Yeah, no, it's true.
In a caravan?
I don't know, you know, because apparently...
Does she bring the caravan?
Well, no, I think it's arranged by the state or something like that, you know.
Oh, imagine the caravan.
Yeah, exactly.
Like your one in North Wales.
No, that was for different purposes. And but no, I mean, look, you know, I know people think I drone on about.
You do
John
drone
Lennon,
on about it,
but that record, things like that, I'll probably go home tonight and listen to a few of those,
Will
and I may
Try
end up
to
weeping.
appear.
Yeah, I might do.
What a terrible thought.
No, it's not a terrible thought. It's not a terrible thought
that you put into people's heads.
Why shouldn't you be allowed to, you know, to
so you're going to spend
feel
this
that
evening,
sort of emotion?
So you're going to spend this evening weeping alone in your penthouse.
No, I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
A picture of John Lennon.
I didn't say that. I just said
sounds like.
that what I hate is the terrible waste and the loss of a man. A person like John Lennon is only born once in 100 years. And then for them to be snatched away from the world so early and so young at 40 years of age,
was very
it's
tragic.
just a terrible tragedy.
It's a very long way away and a very long time ago, but we do celebrate, commemorate his death and his birth and many great things that he did. But let's not get carried away. I've got more important news for you, actually.
Oh, yes?
And that is, you may have heard Chairman of Swansea, Hugh Jenkins, on Jim White's show, saying that Bobcat Bob being sacked.
Oh, yeah?
Because we need stability.
Gotcha now, boy!
We need stability down in Swansea. That's what we say.
So what is stability, then? Losing each game every week?
Well, he has won one game.
Is that stability?
He's won one game.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, that was, even
5-4. It was a bit of a...
Even that was a late
it was a bit of a roller
intervention,
coaster, wasn't it?
Look, I think sometimes people are a bit unfair to old Bobcat. You got to push the envelope! and I've got a lot of people on my radar!
And also make some plays.
Make some plays! You know, we've done a good game. I won't forget this game for a long time. Well, I'm not surprised. It's the only one you've won.
That's right.
But it's all a bit unfair. The thing is, I'm afraid the culture of where he comes from is so at odds with the culture in which he's working now. It makes him stand out like a beacon on a dark night. You know what I mean? Yeah. And therefore, he's always going to be subject to that sort of extra examination. I just want to say a word or two for Noah and Ben Duggan.
Uh-huh.
They're aged 9 and 5.
Yes.
And this morning, as I was coming to work, a gentleman stopped me on the street. He had headphones in. He was listening to yesterday's podcast.
Which, was he? Well, he's lucky he could get hold of it.
I was about to say, which unfortunately was, I'm afraid, it was a bit late.
Yeah.
We're trying to get that sorted for today. But anyway, Noah and Ben Duggan were his two boys. They said they're 9 and 5. He said they love the Two Mike show and they listen to it avidly. So remember, we truly are a family show. Okay?
We certainly are a family show. Well, I hope you remember that when we talk about various things a little bit later on.
Yes.
Rachel Riley coming up. She, of course,
Great.
is going to be telling us about the stresses of Christmas shopping.
Yeah.
Coming up next, though, the world heavyweight boxing champion, Anthony Joshua.
Excellent.
Talk Sport. This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mikes. There's Porky Quiz coming up a little bit later on, of course, and the subject matter is none other than Rod Stewart. We're sticking with the rock and roll theme after Rod phoned into the show a bit earlier in the week and declared you to be one of his closest friends. By the way, Craig Lake has died. Talking of
has he?
pop icons.
That is very sad. He wasn't that old, was he?
I think he was 69.
Crikey, that's not old these days.
But obviously his Christmas song is one of those Christmas songs that everybody plays at this time of the year.
Which one is it?
We may play it a little bit later on.
Which one is it? Is that Emerson, Lake and Palmer?
Yeah, it's the guy from Emerson, Lake and Palmer. I Believe in Father Christmas.
Yeah, that's right. It's a lovely song.
We'll perhaps play a little bit of that.
Yeah,
if you
I
don't
hope
object.
so.
If you don't object.
No, I won't object at all.
That would be very good. We're going to talk to Anthony Joshua coming up very, very shortly. A couple of tweets to read out. You can tweet us, of course, at the Two Mikes. Adam says, Porky's talking utter drivel, saying England is a bigger football nation than Brazil is completely and utterly delusional.
It's not, I'm afraid, because although Brazil have a fantastic track record of winning World Cups...
No, we're talking about in terms of the of the size of the country, in terms of the size of the population who play football and who watch football.
Yeah.
Therefore, it is a massive football nation.
Yeah, but I mean, so is Nigeria, to be honest. But Nigeria's economy can't support the ambitions.
Well, Nigeria does not have all right. Well, if you take Nigeria as a country like that, that's fine. But what it doesn't have is the heritage of the World Cup that Brazil has.
I agree.
So, for you to say that Brazil is a smaller footballing country than Britain than England is nonsense.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that as a commercial prospect, Britain is a better bet than Brazil. It's
as a commercial prospect, that's a different argument. That does
it's not because football is a commercial business.
But the World Cup is not meant to be just about commercial interests, and that's the whole point of it. You know, club football is about commercial interests. You know, the international business is supposed to be different.
Yes.
Mangan says this: let's have an elite World Cup so we don't have to watch the useless England play and see the loutish fans fighting. Well, you can see people having that point of view as well.
Yeah. I don't believe England fans were responsible for the sort of troubles that we witnessed in France at the last tournament, the Euros. I think that was all down to Russian infiltrators.
There was a lot of that, but there was some.
I travelled for years with the England team and the fans, who I got to know quite well because the regular ones used to come time and time again, and they're good people. They're good people, believe me.
Now, Adam says this: I can't wait for Porky to mention the Butlins boxing champ story to Anthony Joshua, but Anthony Joshua is right here with us. He is the world heavyweight champion, of course. I hope you don't mention the Butlins boxing champion story to him. Anthony, a very good afternoon to you. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Not at all. Thank you for coming on.
Us.
Big title fight in Manchester. Eric Molina. You feeling confident?
Yeah, most definitely. I had a good massage, bit of acupuncture last night. You know, all the hard work had me feeling tense, but these last couple of days where I can rest should have me feeling refreshed. And I'm ready to go.
Okay.
Anthony, there's always a great build-up to these fights, and of course you express the the confidence you have and all that. But I mean, deep-rooted inside you, there has to be a fear of failure. Otherwise, you wouldn't be the boxer you are, who has to strive so hard for success.
Yeah, that fear of failure is something that keeps you going. Because I always say, as much support as you have, there's as much eyes are on you that want you to win, or as much eyes are on you that want you to fail.
Yeah.
And sometimes, you could see 1,000 good things, and that one thing that doesn't go with the good thing stands out, and that's the fear. Now, I want to stay on the right track, stay focused, because I don't want to derail everything we've built. And you're right, it is a fear of failure.
Yeah, and you've had that fear, of course, all your life. That's why you won Olympic gold at 2012. When you won Olympic gold, Anthony, and then you decided to turn professional, become a professional boxer, you were in fact going into a completely new profession, weren't you? So that must have been the biggest step in your life so far, and the fear of failure there was an unknown, wasn't it? You didn't really know what you were going into.
I didn't know what I was going into, That's why it took me a good year before I turned pro, because I was just, that fact is, what do I do? How am I going to deal with this? But I could only visualise, and everything that I'd planned out, I thought, okay, if this goes to plan, then it will work out. And I just took the risk, and we're here now, but it don't stop. So that's why I've got to stay on my grind.
Exactly.
And looking at Molina's previous fights, I mean, he's got a pretty good record, 125 of 28. Is he someone that's got a style that you've met before, or have you had to learn a few different techniques?
I've always focused on myself, but watching him, I think definitely he's different, because these deceiving fighters, they look like they're hurt, and then you go in trying to knock them out, and boom, they throw a big right hand that catches you. And it's just due to the fact that he has got knockout power that you have to be careful. So this is about keeping my shape, keeping my balance, and at all times in the fight, making sure that I'm not rushing in and trying to take him out of there because I hear my cousin at the edge of the ring shouting, kill him. I've got to stay focused.
Yeah,
and I mean, while you're in there, have you got a sort of a vision of Vladimir Klitschko in your mind as well? Because he's who you probably go for next if this works out.
This is the thing. There's so many eyes. There's a few eyes out there, important eyes that are watching. But I kind of balance it out, and I say, there's always that person outside the ring that watches and thinks, if I was in there, I would do that. But it's so different being in there in the ring. So I'm not going to let the image of Vladimir Klitschko sitting ringside determine how I box, I can't feel the pressure of someone that I could potentially be boxing get to me in the ring. So I just got to focus on Molina. And however I win, as long as I win, we're still on the journey and I can move forward.
Well, it's funny you should say that, Anthony, because I was going to ask you, the journey is very exciting, the arriving is good, but then the staying there is where the real hard work starts, doesn't it?
I'm learning. I've only had two. This is my second defence. I haven't even defended it yet, but I'm starting to see, as you said, you become the hunted now, and that's the hard part. You're not in the pack anymore.
Yeah.
You're on your own. I'm on my own now, so I've got to defend my throne, and it will get tough. It's getting tough, but it's going to get tougher. That's why I have to stay strong at these times.
What did you make, Anthony, of that rather ridiculous scene between Derek Chisora and Dillian White and their news conference? I mean, you've always conducted yourself in a very civilised way, very dignified way. People say that, boxing sometimes needs this kind of promotion because the fans love it. What did you make of it?
Exactly. That's it there, because I have people saying, saying, "Oh, Anthony, we want entertainment. We want you to do more stuff." But then I see when people do it that are in my weight category and close to me, they're saying it's a bad representation of the sport. So, there's always going to be one or two people that do it in the sport because, it's not the flight mentality we have. We have the fight mentality. And, you're gonna stir that reaction sometimes when you ask certain questions at a press conference. But for me personally, that doesn't work with me. That's not what I want to be doing. But everyone has a limit and everyone has a button. And I think Derek's buttons were pushed yesterday. And he just reacted out of character.
Although he does seem to get himself involved in a few of these things. I mean, the question everybody asks, is it genuine? Is it just being done to stunt up sales for the fight?
I've had it once with Dylan White. And it was real. It's real. I honestly believe it's real. But obviously, when the fight's done, that's the true discipline of boxing because it's a martial art that you shake hands after. But it is an aggressive sport, man. So you've got two lions coming together. It's the one who loud's the rawest, the one who roars the loudest. Sorry.
Absolutely, Anthony. When you were a kid and you were growing up, who was your role model? Who was your boxing role model?
Boxing. When I started, I loved Tyson.
Yeah.
I didn't really watch boxing growing up, but when I really started boxing, I really started watching Mike Tyson. But it was completely wrong because I'm like 6'6", and Tyson was 5'11", and I was trying to.
You can't even say that word on the radio these days, can you?
No, you can't. But I understand. I understand exactly what you mean. Tyson was
you were a tall man.
Yeah, 5'11".
Yeah. But what I'm saying is that Mike Tyson was raw, brutal power. He walked into a ring, and the bloke had no chance because when he was 20, he was the world heavyweight champion, and he knocked everybody out.
Well, until he met Buster Douglas.
Well, exactly. Until he stopped training. But that's the point, isn't it? You get to a point where you think you're invincible, and then you drop your guard. How are you going to make sure that doesn't happen to you?
It's people around me. People around me. Yeah, they've known me for many, many years. So like, some people kind of get to a certain level and say they outgrow their team, they outgrow the people they're around. But I've kept the same people around me, so they don't really. The new people that I'll be around will kind of believe all the hype that's going on. So the people I'm around know me, know how I'm developing, and they just keep my feet on the ground. And that's, for me, that should be the formula to keep me focused throughout my career.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you rely on those people, of course. Those are the people you've grown up with. Those are the people you're going to go forward with, and they're the people you trust, yeah?
Yes. They haven't done me wrong so far. Do
you see David Haye anywhere on the horizon, Anthony?
100%. Most definitely. You know what it is with this game? That's what I'm saying. All you have to do is be able to fight a bit and talk more. And that's what he seems to be doing. Mm-hmm. So he's making himself relevant within what I'm trying to achieve. So, I think it's a fight that people want to see. So 100%, I promise that fight will happen.
OK. Well, Anthony, thanks very much for joining us today. One word of advice to you.
I haven't finished asking him another question yet.
Oh, really?
Well, why are you saying cheerio?
Yeah, well, I'm not. What I'm saying is I was going to give him a piece of parting advice.
Oh, go on, give him some advice. Yeah, he won the Butlins boxing championship when he was 6, apparently.
I did, Anthony. When I was 6 years of age, I was Butlins Pathelli boxing champ. But I wasn't going to bring that up, but my colleague did. Yeah. But I was going to say, if
the street that you live on.
Absolutely.
Of the county you lived in.
That's right. In the big fight, if you hear your cousin ringside saying, kill him, ignore him.
I'm going to ignore him, I promise.
Exactly.
He said he was going to ignore him already.
My
question was, I don't know whether you predict, as Muhammad Ali used to in his fights, Anthony, are you going to make a prediction for this one?
Yeah. I'm going to go for 5.
5? Okay.
Great.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
I'm going to go for 5.
Well,
best of luck, Anthony. Thanks very much indeed.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I think there's rules against that as well.
Right.
Anthony Joshua, thank you very much indeed. Anthony Joshua, world heavyweight champion, says he's going to win in 5 rounds. I don't know whether that means in the 5th round or whether he's going to win inside 5 rounds.
No, I think he said 5, so in the 5th. Not by the 5th.
You don't think that means by the 5th?
Well, it could be.
Yeah.
But I'd say in the 5th.
Yeah. Can you stop saying things on the radio that you're not supposed to say as well?
No, I don't say anything you're not supposed to say.
Really?
No.
You just did it twice.
What?
I'm not going to say it again, am I?
Well, I didn't introduce the word into the programme.
I'm not talking about that word. I'm talking about the subsequent straight down the bookies comment.
Well, that was just a throwaway funny line because I'm renowned for my funny one-liners.
You are renowned for them, yeah. Not by anybody but you, unfortunately.
I don't always mean that.
Rachel Riley's coming up very soon. I hope you'll be nicer to her. This is Talk Sport. TalkSport's teamed up with Icons.com to give away signed Barcelona and Real Madrid shirts. You could win either a Barca shirt signed by the formidable trio of Lionel Messi, Luis Suarez and Neymar, or a Real Madrid shirt signed by Cristiano Ronaldo. To win, simply head to TalkSport.com/win. Now, Porky, I don't know whether you've done any Christmas shopping yet, or whether you've even planned to do any, or whether you've sent out one of your many minions to do it for you.
I do have arrangements for people to help me out in that
You basically get everybody to do shopping for you, don't you?
Well, do you know what? When you get to a certain stage of your life, you say to people, whatever you want for Christmas, go and get it, I'll pay for it, wrap it up put it under the tree.
You get them to buy their own present?
Not always. I mean, it depends, you know.
I was thinking more in terms of the way that you send people out who
my housekeeper's very helpful.
Yeah.
And so are my sisters, who buy for my mum and,
so they do all that.
So basically,
you can't be bothered.
No, I can be bothered, but it's a question of finding the time and the opportunity.
I see. Well, it sounds to me like you're bucking out of it. Rachel Riley, however, is here, the famous countdown star, to tell us about a new study which says almost a quarter of the nation find Christmas shopping to be the most stressful time of the year. Obviously, it doesn't affect you. Rachel, a very good afternoon to you.
Afternoon to you.
Thank you very much indeed for joining us. As you can hear from my conversation with Mr. Parry, you know, he's not somebody that suffers from the stress of Christmas shopping. He basically doesn't do any.
No. There's definitely a gender divide in this, isn't there?
Well, I'm not.
And your other half to do it all.
Well, no, not really.
He hasn't got another half.
Not really.
Just the housekeeper and the servants.
Oh no, I've got a few other halves, Rachel. Don't take any notice of this
what
man
do you mean
on my
by
left.
That? Oh, what? So now we're going to have Porky the Lothario talking to Rachel Riley.
Not at all. No, Rachel, what I was going to say is there's an art to Christmas shopping, isn't there? If you don't organise yourself and you go wandering off into a shopping centre with an empty head, not knowing what you're looking for, what you're going to do, it could be painful, couldn't it?
If you don't get organised, I mean, Curry's PC World have done a massive survey and they found people said it's actually more stressful than moving house.
Yeah. I'm sure it is.
Shopping.
Yeah, but isn't it now because people spend so much more money on shopping and they buy so many more presents than they used to?
Yeah, I mean, for me, all my friends are now starting to get husbands and have babies, so the list gets longer every year. And everyone, they think they're doing you a favour by saying, oh, no, I don't want anything. I just want, your friendship and your love. And you're thinking, I'm going to buy you a present anyway. Just give me a bone.
You start to wonder if you married the right person when they say things like that.
Quite. I mean, I think, well, actually, my other half, he's bought me some good presents this year. He's bought me a big telly and a speaker system for it. But I think that's one of those presents that he secretly wanted.
But how do you know? Well, yeah, exactly. But how do you know that already? You've conversed about it, have you?
Oh, this isn't the Christmas. This is just earlier. This is
right.
The moving in present. So
that's
Christmas,
nice.
I don't know, because I think it's about it is about a bit of effort. I think there's quite a lot of etiquette around whether you give someone an exact item they want. I think it's fine to do that if like you're a little bit lazy and you probably don't want to go around the shops and you want to get something they like. Then fair enough, tell them. I think I'd probably draw the line at buying it myself unless it was my.
Well, and also some of us. I mean, my particular problem is the mother of my children is not very good at surprises. You know, if I buy her something that she hasn't asked for, she usually sort of screws up her nose at it and takes it back because it's not something she wanted.
It can be difficult as well because if I said to my mum, I want some headphones, she wouldn't have a clue what I was, what's compatible with my phone, what kind of music, or anything like that. So it's good to go into a store where you've actually got people that can test, 17 of these things out. They know exactly what's right for the right person, the right budget, and they can give you a little bit of advice. And then at the end of the day, I like a receipt. I always give a receipt at Christmas because then they can take it back.
A gift receipt,
the gift receipt, so you don't know how much it costs. Yeah. Now, Rachel, it doesn't surprise me because you're Britain's best-known brain box, right? So it doesn't surprise me that you have taken advice from the university statistician, Dr. Dye, and he's produced this Dr. Dye.
Dr. Dye?
Yeah, and that's his name. And he's produced this report, The Science of Getting It Right formula. Now, what's all that about?
So we've got a formula. So they did a massive PC World and we did a massive survey of everyone's habits over Christmas and their worries and what they get up to, and they've collated all this data. And Dr. Dye, I'm not a statistician, so he's used all of that information to make a formula. And believe it or not, what you've got in front of you is my simplified version.
Oh, really?
So this is a proper mathematical formula, and it basically tells you what common sense would tell you anyway. So if you spend more time planning, if you get your budget in order, and you start your shopping earlier, and if you get a hint, then you're more likely to get the presents right this year.
Now, I'm also seeing in these figures that the average amount spent per head is £21 to £30. I find that hard to believe because the amount of shopping that you see people doing for Christmas, I would say it must be at least 5 times that, if not 10
5
times.
times that? What,
I
per
was
present?
Per person.
Per head.
Per
Per person. I mean, my kids, right, are 12 and 9. The 12-year-olds asked for an Armani watch.
Yeah,
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's ridiculous.
Is that a dream on request?
Well, I mean, if Father Christmas brings him a watch, it will not be an Armani watch.
Right, okay,
Do you know what I mean?
yeah. Well, you're going
But
to
I mean,
Rolex.
Rolex, yeah. But I mean, but also, everything's expensive. If they want a FIFA 17 or they want, you're talking 30, 40 quid per item. I mean, I don't know who's spending 20 quid per head.
I mean, I think it's better to just, you give a hint of vaguely what you want rather than a specific item. Then that person's got the option of spending whatever they want rather than, I want this specific Armani watch that's going to cost a bomb. I'd rather get a genre of watch and go out and choose something.
A genre of watch?
Yes,
a genre, rather than, just wandering around and it could be anything from a Hoover to a scarf. I don't want that broad
No, I was going to say,
area,
what's the worst Christmas present you've ever got?
I once got an inflatable shark, an inflatable remote control shark.
Inflatable remote control shark.
That's the sort of thing you'd buy.
Yeah,
well,
That's the sort of
maybe.
thing Porky would buy his girlfriend.
I mean, would you use this in the swimming pool, the bath,
never
or
used it.
never used it? No.
Put it in the cupboard.
Yeah, well, I hope the person who bought it isn't listening because he's going to feel rather
he
or
was informed very, very quickly that we didn't require any further presents from him.
I
It was
see.
very, very kind, but thanks anyway.
That's right.
That's
Now-
the thing, you don't want to waste your own money either, do you, on things like that, especially if you don't get the option of taking stuff back.
I totally agree. Now, as you will be perceived as a lady who has everything, so you've got to tell us what is on your Santa's list this year.
I would like some points for Man United, please.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Good luck
that's
with
going
that.
on my list. I think I might need Santa's.
Good luck with that.
at the moment.
After half the team gets crocked over in Russia later on because the
Ukraine,
pitch
yeah.
is frozen.
Yes.
Yeah, my friend's gone out there with the team, and it was -7 yesterday, and apparently she's packed for Spain, so that's a bit of an error.
Yeah.
We've got Mkhitaryan's played there for a number of years, hasn't he? So he's used to the cold.
Yeah.
So you've
And,
just
they're based in
confirmed.
Manchester,
You've
it's
also
not
just
exactly-
confirmed, Rachel, that you do indeed have everything because you just asked for something which you don't need.
Which is a dream,
Which
really.
is a dream,
Yes.
yeah.
A dream.
Yes. But
So,
No,
like,
it's a
not a pair
reality.
of Jimmy Choos or anything like that?
Father Christmas can sort it.
yeah.
I don't know. I've my other half actually. He seems to get me a pair of shoes every year. I think he's got more of a shoe fetish than I do.
Oh, really? Well, we don't wish to
very
know about that.
well-fashioned
This is a
shoes.
family
It's a family
show.
show. We can't talk about that. Well, Rachel, thank you very much indeed. Rachel Riley, of course, from Countdown there, giving us the lowdown on the mathematical formula which you can work out, which tells you, as if you didn't know, that buying for your partner is actually one of the most difficult things to do around Christmas.
It is, of course it is.
What are
yeah.
you buying me, by the way?
I'm not buying you anything.
Why not?
Because I've had a difficult
That's a
year, and
shocking
you're part of
admission.
the difficulty. So
What do you mean
I'm not-
have you had a
I'm not-
difficult year?
Well, it's been stressful and all
How?
that kind of stuff. Well, we've
Well,
been
it's not my fault you've had a difficult
getting
year.
out everywhere and all this kind of stuff. What I do find difficult is the pressure people put on you when they ask you what do you want for Christmas.
Yes.
Because I don't want anything.
Right.
And so this causes terrible stress. I mean, people like my poor mother, she's asking me from July onwards, what
Right.
do you want for Christmas?
Why don't you say do the Paul McCartney thing and just say black socks?
Is that what he said?
He says, now, whenever anybody asks him, because he's, what do you buy Paul McCartney for Christmas?
Well, yeah,
He
sure.
says, no matter how much money you got, you always need black socks.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Well, that's not a bad idea.
I've
I
started
suppose.
doing that.
Could try that one.
Yeah, you buy me some black socks.
And then, your sister say what you want, and your niece and your nephew and everybody else.
Yeah.
And so, apart from sort of 8 days a week, a box set of House of Cards, what else
when
do
are
I
you
need?
giving me mine back, by the way?
Well, that's the whole plan. If I get a box set of the House of Cards at Christmas, then you can have yours back. If I don't, you can't.
Thanks very
Simple
much.
as that.
This is Talk Sport. Talk Sport, we are the two mics, and of course, the Porky quiz coming up a little bit later on is going to be all about Rod Stewart because he came on the show a little bit earlier this week.
Yep.
We've had a great week of guests, actually.
We have, actually, yeah.
Rachel Riley was lovely
Yeah.
there, talking about Christmas presents. Got a couple of Christmas tweets, actually. Here's one from Gab. He says, I plan my Christmas shopping like an SAS assault. I know what I want, who wants it, where to get it, the route I take around the mall, and
Yes.
the best prices in what shops.
Yes.
And it's still very stressful.
Yes,
Well, the
it
most
is very
difficult
stressful.
thing is getting to a place, and you can have as much of a game plan as you want.
Yep.
And you get to a particular place, and they've got the thing you want, but it's either the wrong colour,
Yes.
or it's the wrong size,
Yes.
or there's something just slightly wrong with it.
Yeah, I
I
totally
told
agree.
you my sort of click and collect nightmare from the other day, where I ended up having to go to a different store despite the fact that I'd ordered it to go
and
to
you
the
still
store
didn't get the right thing,
nearest me. Well, I got 2 out of the 3 things I ordered. The third thing I still don't have, and it's one particular present that somebody wants, and so I'm going to have to keep searching for it. You know?
Okay. Now, I'm going to put a picture out in a minute, okay, for all our millions of listeners, and it is a picture of Blackfriars Bridge.
Oh, yeah.
Now, you know Blackfriars Bridge,
I know
as I know Blackfriars Bridge.
Yeah. It looks a bit different than it did in the days when I used to cross it on a daily basis.
Well, you used to cross it on a daily basis because you used to go to the Daily Express building, which is on the south side, okay?
Well, actually, usually it's because I was leaving the Daily Express, but I'm going to go to a pub on the opposite side of the river.
Of course, I understand that. But what I'm saying is, when I walked past there yesterday, I made 2 observations.
Yes.
One of them was that the Daily Express building is about to be knocked down.
Is it?
Because fencing has gone up around the base of it. There is so much development in London, I can't believe it.
I know.
And this is in the same week we're reading that, very expensive flats in London have now dried up because of the massive stamp duty that's been levied on them by George Osborne.
A block opposite the hospital, round the back of the Shard, has disappeared altogether.
It has,
in the last month and a half. And that housed, I mean, not very many dwellings, but it housed about 2 restaurants, maybe 3 restaurants, a dry cleaners, there was a tanning salon there was a coffee shop. It's all gone.
I think office building in London is, I mean, it's just amazing. It's just going on. And all this talk about Brexit and London becoming, disengaged from Europe and all that, you don't see that in the amount of cranes and the London skyline. So that's one thing. But the main thing I did, by the way, we worked in that express building for years. I actually remember going in there.
Well, it's the only express building I ever worked in, because when I came back in 92... Yeah, they'd already moved.
That's right. Well, I always claim, well, it's a true claim, I was the last news editor in the famous Daily Express building, the Black Lubianca in Fleet Street.
Yes.
But only for 6 months, and then we moved south of the river to this purpose-built building, built by Lord Stevens, purpose-built, with grey Italian slate, and it was a landmark building in those days. The minute we went in there and compared it to the building we'd left in Fleet Street, which was like a warehouse... Yeah. We could not believe the luxury.
Like rabbit warren type corridors and all the rest of it.
Yeah, because it had been,
And the printing operation in the basement.
Went down 8 floors and all that kind of stuff. And it was like walking into a 5-star hotel. There were carpets, there were beautiful chairs, there were computers on
Fantastic views of the river.
Fantastic views of the river. And now... that building had a life of 30 years, because it was exactly 30 years ago that we went in there, 1986, and it's now being knocked down. Yeah. And it's unbelievable.
Well, do you know what's interesting is that you say it's 30 years old. It actually, of late, against all of the new buildings going up, it was beginning to look a bit dated.
Yeah, it was, I agree. And in just 30 years. The other difficulty is they're building a building opposite called One Blackfriars, which is one of the most magnificent buildings I've ever seen.
It's all glass,
It's going to have a 5-star hotel on about 16 floors, and the rest of the 27-floor property...
You should move in there.
Well, the minimum price for an apartment, because I've been inquired, is about £1.2 million. So
it'd be handy for the office, though.
It'd be very handy. It's just around the corner. But the main reason I'm telling you all this is I'm going to put this picture out now, and it's after I read in the London Evening newspaper this week that Mr. Sadiq Khan, who is the mayor of London,
that's right,
intends to spend another £700 million on bike lanes.
I saw that story.
During the course of his mayoralty.
Mayoralty, yes. Or his tenure.
Yes, tenure, right? So what I did was, on Blackfriars Bridge, which is one of the busiest jugular veins into London...
Well, it used to be.
Well, yeah, let me just tell you. I took this picture at 10:30 a.m. this morning, and it demonstrates the traffic is absolutely blocked up from Blackfriars Bridge, maybe 2 miles back down to the Elephant and Castle, whilst there are 2 lanes which are completely empty. And, of course, those 2 lanes are the cycling lanes.
Of course.
And the picture shows the cycling motive on them. It shows them completely empty. It shows traffic. Whilst I was taking this picture, a police car, an unmarked police car, tried to get through the traffic. Its blue lights were flashing, but that was the only sign it was a police car. In the end, the police car, in frustration, drove into the cycle lane and went across the bridge on the cycle lane.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, exactly. But nobody else can do that, you know what I mean?
No, of course not.
But anyway, I'm going to put this picture out because, and I'm sorry if this sounds London-centric, it's not. I warned everybody years ago, what happens here is going to come to your town soon, and it's now happening all over the country.
Well, it is happening all over the country.
These ridiculous cycle superhighways. Nobody uses them.
But I fear that your constant haranguing of politicians for trying to make this into a reality for them is falling upon deaf ears, because it's something that's happening, and I think you might as well just accept it. And I'm
not accepting it.
Well, you might as well accept it, because there's no point in railing against what is going on without having any ability to stop it.
It's wrong.
Well, it may be wrong, but it's happening. And there is really nothing you can do.
Yes, there is. You can protest against it. That's what we do in a democracy.
Well, what are you doing about it?
Well, I'm going to put out a tweet now showing
you're going to put out a tweet?
Acres.
There's nothing like doing something selfless to really make your mark on the scene.
Well, what do you do about it?
I'm not objecting to it.
Why?
Because
you
it's
moan
there.
about it as much as I do.
Yeah, I moan about the traffic in London.
Yeah, but you moan and do nothing.
No, I
you're
don't.
a typical.
No.
You are a typical
so now
empty vessel.
You're now attacking me.
I am attacking you because you're
What's wrong
attacking
with
me.
you? No, I'm not. I'm just saying you're not doing anything about it.
I am doing things about it. I'm raising awareness.
You're sending a tweet out.
I'm raising awareness.
Well, you don't think everybody knows about it already?
Well, if they do, then they need to know that I know about it as well, and I'm beating the drum, okay?
Well, as long as you're beating the drum.
Because it's very, very important.
As long as it makes you feel good. That's
and
the most
and it's going to
thing.
come to all the towns. It's going to come to Manchester, Liverpool, Newcastle, Durham, Middlesbrough, you name it, it's going to come. Lincoln, everywhere.
Right.
And the contradiction that I'm trying to put to you, but you're too thick-headed to be able to work it out.
That's nice.
Is that if they're building offices in London, because people are still coming to London to do business
people to
here.
come in on bikes.
But you can't. You can't.
Why not?
Because you have to have a chauffeur-driven car in a lot of cases to
you
get to
don't. work
work and back. You do if you're a captain of industry, okay?
Right. Well, not everybody is a captain of industry.
No,
you're talking about the 1% again, aren't you?
All right. What about the people? What about the people who? Because you look at some of these cars in this picture I'm putting out. They are tradesmen. They are trying to do their business.
Yep.
They are trying to transport goods across London.
Yes.
They are trying to provide a service across London.
Yep.
And you can't if London is choked by the fact that you reduce every road to one lane of traffic and two lanes of cyclists.
As ever, you have oversimplified what is a very complicated subject.
No,
okay?
I haven't.
I don't disagree with you that there are too many bike lanes.
Oh, you're now agreeing.
Well, no,
that's funny. You said that you weren't going to protest, and now you're agreeing with
you're
me.
You're really thick at times, aren't you?
Because you know
you're
that I'm
really thick.
You
at
know
times.
I'm on the ball.
No,
I'm on the ball.
No,
and
you've never been on the ball in your life.
I certainly am on the ball.
What I'm saying to you is that while all this is going on
you
around
got nasty
you,
then, didn't you? Didn't like you're really thick, you are. Really thick.
That's not me being nasty. You want me to get nasty?
No, I don't.
No, you don't want me to.
No, you're not even pleasant when you're nice.
No, that's right.
Not an option.
Exactly. If you had enough sleep, by the way, you seem very grumpy this morning.
I've had plenty of sleep. By the way, we were in the Shard last night, weren't we?
We were.
And we put out some pictures of the view from the Shard. Utterly magnificent.
It is.
I mean, it must be the best building in Britain. We were on what floor were we on? 33rd?
72nd.
72nd. Wow. We were at 33rd first, didn't we?
The 33rd was the first lift that went to, and then you got another lift up to the 69th, the 68th.
And we were on the 72nd. We went up the stairs at the top.
Yeah, at the top.
So we're right at the top, overlooking Tower Bridge. In fact, I might put this out again. Such a magnificent view. A great picture I took, by the way.
Was it?
The pictures you took all had sort of flashes and echoes and reflections on them.
Well, of course you take better pictures than I do as well.
My picture's better. But anyway, look, I'm going to share this with
Unfortunately, you didn't figure out how to send it, though, did you?
I did send it last night. I did, yeah. I'm going to repeat it today because I think it's such a good picture.
Paul says this about Christmas. If anyone's really stuck over money at Christmas, Porky's books are still available. You can get 100 for £1.
I don't even think that's funny. Such a hackneyed old...
Yeah, I know. Not like any of your arguments about cycling.
You know, well, I'm sorry, but I mean, if I
like hackney old argument about cycling.
No. If I close down on protesting about cycling, then those mad people who put all these cycle lanes. I mean, I don't even think cyclists want these cycling lanes.
No, they
because
don't.
a lot of the time I see them not using them. A lot of the times I see them just using roads. And some nutter has gone around and convinced authorities all over the country we've got to have cycle lanes all over the place.
Yeah.
Let's close down industry. Let's close down commerce. Let's close down cities. And let's give the roads to cyclists who never use them.
Well,
it's madness.
It may be madness.
It's utter madness,
but it's happening. This is Talk Sport. Coming up a little bit later on, we'll be looking ahead to Manchester United's game tonight in the Europa League. Zorya Luhansk. Don McGuinness is going to be talking about that. It's very cold out there in Ukraine.
-7, did I hear?
-7, -8, as Rachel Riley was telling us. So Jose's not very happy about the game going ahead because he's worried his players are going to get injured.
Yeah.
But that's another story. Talking about being... Oh, sorry, what were you going to say?
Be like playing on concrete.
Well, it would be. It would be. And when you've got very highly tuned athletes who are used to playing on surfaces less hard than that, you do worry. Bob is up talking as well. We'll be talking about him a bit later on.
Yeah. He doesn't do himself any favour looking like a billiard ball, does he?
He doesn't really.
Look out, Bob!
But it's not his fault.
Boy!
It's not his fault that he's not got any hair on his head.
No.
I mean, what
well,
do
it
you want
might
him to
be.
wear? Maybe wear a toupee or something.
Maybe he shaves it off.
Maybe he does, yeah. But the point is that, that's his look, so I don't mind that. Now, talking of things that are injured, hear about this list that came out today.
Well,
the endangered species list. It's actually the global red list of threatened species.
Yeah, as you know, I have a huge interest in in the wildlife of the world.
Well, so you say.
My campaign to free Tommy the chimp from a concrete
How's that
cell
going?
in New York. Well, it's ongoing. It's ongoing.
He hasn't been freed yet, has he?
He hasn't been freed yet, but we're still working on it, you know. And of course, you know, I want to rub out poachers who shoot elephants and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
So it's something in which I take a great interest.
I know that. And did you know now that African grey parrots have been named as joining this particular threatened species list?
It's been brought to my attention. Do you know they're known as the Einstein of the bird world?
And why is that?
Because they're so bright. You know, they can imitate noises made by human beings. They can impersonate human voices. The cognitive development of the African grey is so advanced. The cognitive. That's what I said. Development of the African grey is so advanced that it's been likened to that of a chimpanzee.
Really?
Or even a small human child.
Right. Well, let's talk to Professor Nigel Collar, who's been involved in putting together a study on African greys. We'll find out from him, perhaps, if they are indeed known as the Einstein parrot. Professor Collar, very good afternoon to you.
Hi there.
Is that right? Are they known as the Einstein parrot, or is that just a bit of sort of newspaper shorthand?
It's newspaper shorthand, but I rather like it, and I'm going to keep it. They are incredibly clever. There's a woman in America called Irene Petterberg who kept an African grey called Alex. Yeah. And she used to do experiments with him, and he was a wonderful companion. He lived for 18 years. And he was extraordinary. He had a mental age of about a 3-year-old child. So he was actually cleverer than a chimpanzee. And he could count to up to 7. He understood the concept of nothing.
Golly!
And you could have conversations with him, and he knew what he was talking about. So he would say, "Alex, want a peanut?" And you put a walnut in front of him, and you say, "No, Alex wants peanut."
Really?
I mean, that's incredible. Honestly, Prof, that is like talking to a human being, isn't it?
It was like talking to
some human beings.
A 3-year-old.
Golly, that's absolutely amazing. Now, why are they under threat, Prof? I don't quite understand this. I know why. Wild animals like elephants and rhino, and that can be under threat from poachers and that sort of thing, but nobody's poaching African greys, are they?
Well, you could call it poaching, yes, because they're taken from the wild precisely because they're such great talkers.
I see.
And they do become good companion birds if you treat them extremely well. But you take them from the wild because they're probably the very best talkers amongst all the parrots that there are. You know, parrots have got this big reputation for being able to talk. Yeah. And African greys do it better than any of the others. So they're very colourful. They may sound grey, but they are grey. But they've got these wonderful red tails as well.
Yes.
So the people, sorry to interrupt you, Professor. The people who are poaching them are doing it for what purpose exactly?
To sell them to the West, I suppose.
I mean, just to sell them as pets. Is that what they're doing?
That's right. Yeah, absolutely.
Golly.
There's a huge trade in it. Hundreds of thousands taken from the wild every year. Golly. And we're not absolutely certain, you know, where the markets are for this, but most of them seem to be in Asia. Yeah. So there's a lot of birds that go out of Africa and go towards Southeast Asia.
So is it like a status symbol then to have one of these parrots?
I suspect it is, yes. I think that's actually probably going on in a lot of cases. I don't think that many of them necessarily, they certainly don't survive very well, but unless they're treated extremely well, as if they are, you know, a member of the family, then they basically start to pine away, they chew their feathers, and they become very uncommunicative and difficult, and then they basically get discarded by their dissatisfied owners.
Golly, that's absolutely horrible. I mean, I live in Stockbroker Belt, Surrey. I don't see a lot of African greys flying around there. However...
Well, they might be inside the houses.
Well, they may be inside the houses, but it's very cruel, I think, to keep a wild animal in that sort of confinement. However, Prof, what I was going to say to you was, in the same part of the world, mostly I think at Chiswick and Kew, Mike, isn't it, there's loads of wild parrots now.
Parakeets, yeah.
Parakeets, and I just wonder whether that is a kind of reverse phenomenon, where the parakeets have escaped from somewhere else and now breed freely in this country.
Yeah, that's true. And in fact, they're becoming a bit of a pest. I mean, they're wonderful birds.
They're beautiful to watch, even though they are pest-like. Because, I mean, I saw them flying over Westway once. I could hardly believe my eyes. Yeah. These sort of, load of yellow birds.
Yeah, you can see them in all sorts of parks now, and it's very good at it's the car parks at London at Heathrow Airport. You can see them flying at dusk.
Yes,
and you're picking your car up. There's hundreds of them.
Exactly, 1,000. Very, very colourful, as you say. But I mean, presumably people aren't interested in them because the old African grey is a status symbol because of its ability to communicate with the human. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. But there are cases where birds have escaped from captivity and started to form little populations in various cities. It's happened actually in a few cities in Africa itself.
Right.
And with some other species of parrots, some of the Amazon parrots, which are rather like African greys but more colourful, in America, you get the same phenomenon where if you go to parts of suburban Los Angeles or places in Florida, you can find lots of these populations that have escaped from captivity and do quite well.
Golly, that's great. Can I just, sorry, Mike, can I just ask, I mean, you always think that birds are free because they fly in the sky. Free as a Bird was a famous Beatles song, you know.
It was.
How do you capture an African grey? Do they throw nets over trees or something, or...?
Yes, you can do it various ways. You can actually take them out of nests when they're chicks.
Oh, I see.
You can capture birds that are incubating eggs as well. But one of the big ways is they come down to feed at the clay licks, places where they get a certain amount of minerals from the ground.
Right.
And there it's quite easy to cannon net them.
Yes, I see.
Are you someone, Professor, that favours the idea of sort of zoos collecting some of these parrots and keeping them going, if you like, or is that something you're not for?
Well, I'm very much for making the best use of any resource that's in captivity where the birds can be looked after well and can be captive bred. I think that's really important as a backup to many of the populations of species of animal that are in danger. Zoos can actually supply really, really valuable backup.
Yeah. Is it, because you're an expert on this, Prof, is it kind or fair to keep any sort of parrot in your house? You know, Polly the parrot in the cage, you know, Polly wants a cup of tea and all that kind of stuff.
Polly the parrot?
Yeah.
Is that a particular brand?
Well, you know, that's what people call their parrots, don't they, sometimes? Polly. I mean, is it unkind to keep any sort of parrot in a house?
No, it's not. But one of the key things is, if at all possible, don't buy birds that have been caught in the wild.
Exactly.
They've really grown up with a completely different mindset, and it's very difficult for them to adjust to captivity.
Well, they're in prison, aren't they? It's like a life sentence. You're going to be put in prison.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But birds that have been captive bred, which don't know very different, they can become extremely good companions.
Right.
And you get lots of good relationships forming, as indeed with the case of Alex and Irene Pepperberg, where clearly, you know, there was no suffering whatever on the part of the animal.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's good to know.
Professor, thank you very much.
I'm thinking about it.
Nigel Colley, you thinking about getting a parrot?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
He can talk back to you and say everything that you just said back to you.
Well,
that would be a perfect conversation.
I'm not sure about that.
That would be a perfect conversation.
I mean, you know, you can't have a dog because you have to take a dog out and walk the dog, and I'm not there all the time, and I live in a penthouse, and dogs should live on the ground. But a parrot seems like a very good idea.
Yeah. Maybe I'll get you one for Christmas.
Well, no, because I'd like to choose my own parrot. I want one with blue feathers.
Blue feathers?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, giraffes are also on the endangered list.
Well, I know, but I didn't want to ask the Prof about that because I think he was a bird expert, so I wasn't asking why giraffes are...
Well, don't you care about them as well?
People don't go around shooting giraffes because giraffes are too big. I mean... Nobody cares about giraffes going because you can't feed a giraffe, you know what I mean?
What do you mean you can't feed
Well,
one?
you know, you can feed a donkey and you can feed you know, understand what I'm saying? An endangered species. You can feed an elephant, for instance, you know, so people love elephants because they'll
you
take
can feed a lion as well, but unfortunately it might be quite dangerous.
Bite your arm off, you idiot. But an elephant will take a bun out of your hand, you know
So
what I mean?
rude.
And all this kind of stuff. But giraffes, I mean, that's why we think it's astonishing to see a picture of a giraffe putting its head through the window of a house, but putting his head through the window of the bedroom rather than the ground floor.
Well, that's how they get fed.
Yeah, that's right, because they've got very long necks,
Second
obviously.
floor only.
But I don't know why people would go around shooting giraffes, because...
Well, they use their skin, I guess. For something.
I suppose they could. They're ungainly creatures, aren't they? Have you ever seen a giraffe running? Because I have.
I've seen you running.
No, a giraffe...
You're ungainly as well.
A giraffe sort of hops. It doesn't run.
Yeah, I've seen them
You know
run.
what I mean? They sort of, all four legs go up and down at the same time, and they kind of hop around like this.
They're
you know
not
what
really
I mean?
hopping. They're sort of, they're just sort of gliding.
Loping, you know. But they...
Why are you banging the desk?
Well, I'm
You've
trying
seen
to...
the time, by the way.
I'm trying to illustrate the four-legged giraffe and the way it moves, you know what I mean?
What, as opposed to the two-legged giraffe?
The two-legged giraffe.
This is Talk Sport. A lot of Europa League action coming up tonight. Live on
Indeed.
Talk Sport, of course, we've got the Man United game. Let's talk to Paddy Power and find out what odds he can give us for what's going to be going on. Paddy, very good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Michaels. What's going on?
Well, it's very cold out there in Ukraine, isn't it? I mean,
Certainly
I
is.
suppose if you were a Manchester United fan, you might be a bit anxious that some of the players might not come back in the state that they went out in.
Yeah, but they might wear gloves. Like, you know, there was like there probably wasn't there was not drama, but there was a bit of speculation about whether the match should go ahead. But it's got to be all clear, hasn't it? Like,
well, I was thinking more in terms of the hard ground that they might. hurt
I mean,
themselves,
we don't think their fingers are going to drop off with frostbite just yet, Paddy. But we were worried that if they didn't
is that a worry, really? Really? Does not wear like? They probably have a few pairs of runners, do they, or boots, whatever they can wear? You know.
Well, you have to wear the right boots, don't you? You have to wear like rubber soles. That was a famous Beatles album, by the way.
Mention the Beatles anymore.
Well, it's the commemoration of the death of John Lennon.
Yeah.
But anyway, that of course puts a twist on the game. United still remain favourites, don't they?
This will be like a huge embarrassment because the Zorya Lugansk are the bottom of the group as well, aren't they? So United are 4-11, so very short odds. And Zorya, the home team, are 8-1. The draw is 4-1. So it'll be just as it won't matter obviously in the grand scheme of things, but it'll just be highly embarrassing for them to get beat.
Yeah, well, it would. Yeah, and of course Southampton are playing as well.
Beersheva.
Pardon?
Beersheva.
Thank you very much.
They're playing Beersheva. I love that name, Beersheva. It's a biblical name, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's an Israeli team.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What are the odds on that one, Paddy?
They're short. Southampton. They're at home. They're 2-5. And Hapoel Beersheva are 15-2, and the draw is 7-2 there. But it's one of the great things about the Europa League is that many that, as I say, really ignorantly, many of the teams in it sound like IKEA furniture.
Very ignorantly, yeah. But also, of course, maybe not such great news for some of these teams is that then everybody else drops into the competition, like Spurs.
Isn't it so weird? I mean, it's just like trying to. If you're talking, people say, "Oh, who's going to win the Europa League outright or whatever?" and you'll be talking about that. And you just be absolutely cracked in the head to be having a bet, because whoever comes into it is going to be towards the top of the bet, aren't they?
I mean, presumably as well, when you're line a book on it at the beginning of the season, you can't do anything but leave a load of blanks because you don't know who's going to be in it.
Well, the point is, so United are favourites now at 9-2, then Tottenham are 8-1, Roma 9-1. But it's just there's loads, there's other teams to still come into it. Is the Champions League over now? The groups are over, so we know. So we have the full list there. But so Tottenham have dropped into, but United are still favourites, I guess, for it. But yeah, you're right. There's a load of teams that came in. If you had a bet at the very start, you would have had probably. Who was Sevilla must be still in the Champions League, are they? Because they're normally favourites.
Sevilla are still in,
That's right.
So there you go. Even I don't know.
No, you really should, Paddy. I mean, you really need to read up on this stuff because you're laying bets on it every day.
The start of each season, Paddy, you should open a book on which will be the first English team to go to some hellhole in Eastern Europe where it's -7 and players don't see daylight for 14 hours or something like that. Because it always happens.
It'd be hard to fit that in the betting slip, though.
It certainly would. Now, shall we have a look to other sporting events like Anthony Joshua, Paddy? Is this boy odds on to retain his titles?
He is the real deal, isn't he? I mean, it has to be said. And even all you see, all the social media, it's the sort of thing that if they had it way back in the day of Tyson, that would have been much better. But all the social media stuff you see of him training, all the ridiculous stuff he does, like basically lifting a double-decker bus with his neck type of thing in part of his training. But he'd be very, very short. But I'm trying to find I'm trying to talk rubbish here. What I try and find I see him here. He's against David Hay. Yeah, he's 8-13. Hay is 5-4, and it's 33-1.
He's not fighting David Hay.
No, he's actually fighting Eric Molina.
Oh, sorry, Molina first. So we haven't priced. So I'm looking here. We have just a list of mythical matches.
Well, I'm sorry to have thrown that one at you, Paddy.
Sorry about that.
Let's talk about something you do know about, whether we're going to have a white Christmas.
Yeah, I think we will probably not. What's the weather like there? Over here it's like summer over here. It's like 14 degrees.
Very mild, yeah.
Yeah, so it's Josh was 1-50 against Derek Molina. I actually found that he's Molina's 14.
1-50.
1-50.
Blimey, that could be a Mike Tyson. It's like Buster Douglas type upset.
Yeah, it's 98% likely he wins. But anyway, the White Crits, it's 7-2 for London.
So has that come down a bit then?
We probably start off the year at about 4-1-9. It's always around the same price, isn't it? I mean, the shortest price in the UK is Dundee, 5-2, then Glasgow 130. But normally you'd have one of the Scottish cities would be a bit shorter than that. So I think the mild weather and the mild snap, if you can call it that, is very un-Christmassy.
It really is. It's very unfortunate. Well, have a great weekend, Paddy.
Yeah,
Thank you
thanks,
very much.
Paddy.
Take care. Power there with all the odds on the Europa League tonight. Of course, it's the draw for the Champions League knockout stage tomorrow as well, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
So we'll get ourselves stuck into all that here at TalkSport.
Yes.
And also, I wonder if it is going to snow in Glasgow, because we're going up to Glasgow on December 17th.
We are.
For a show at the Garage.
Well, I mean, listen, I hope we don't get snowed in or anything like that. We want to get there and get out. You know what I mean?
Well, we want to get there, and I mean, getting out is not so much of a problem because getting out, you can always find time to either drive or get on a train. But if they blockade the airport because of snow or fog or something, and we don't make the show, that's not good. But you can still get some tickets. So have a look on the twomics.co.uk.
Indeed,
this is TalkSport.
I wish you a hopeful Christmas. I wish you a brave new year. All anguish, pain and sadness, leave your heart and let your road be clear. They said there'd be snow at Christmas. They said there'll be peace on earth. Hallelujah, Noel, be heaven or hell. The Christmas we get, we deserve.
What's the song we hear at this time of year, really every year, have done for many a year?
Yeah.
And the news, of course, that you will have heard in our news is that Greg Lake, the singer of this, the composer of it, has died at 69.
Isn't that sad? 69's no age these days. And
it's not.
And I want, it's very sad. That's one of the nicer Christmas songs because, some of the Christmas songs drive you mad, don't they? Slade, Merry Christmas and all that kind of stuff. But I still like Slade's record, by the way. I think it's so iconic.
By the end of the festive season,
I totally agree.
I
totally agree. It's so iconic, and I think I first heard it when I was about 15 or 16 or something. And, you remember it ever since. And, John Lennon, War is Over and all that kind of stuff. And who was the guy from The Move who...
Rory Wood.
Yeah. What was his
I Wish
song?
It Could Be Christmas Every Day.
But that was Wizard, wasn't it?
It was.
That's a band he formed.
That's
Wizard.
Right.
But that's really sad because that one gives me the mental image of Christmas trees and mince pies and people in a festive mood and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not like Chris Rea driving home for Christmas.
Oh, I quite like that. You don't like that?
I like the story behind it. He wrote it because he did drive home for Christmas one time when he was absolutely broke and he'd completely run out of money. And the only reason he drove home to Middlesbrough was because he couldn't afford to stay in London any longer. He'd exhausted all his avenues of work and all that kind of stuff. And I remember him telling me he got to Middlesbrough and they opened the house. And the house was colder inside than it was out.
Right.
It was like the sort of place you grew up in. It had no central heating or
That's
anything
right.
like that.
Yeah,
there was
very
lights
cold.
on the inside of the window.
You sleep with a hat on.
Yes, that's right. But lying on the floor, on the doormat, was the piled-up mail from, the couple of weeks they'd been away. And he opened one letter, and it was a royalty cheque. And it was his first ever royalty cheque for about 30 grand or something.
Very nice.
And therefore he had a great Christmas.
Yeah.
And he wrote Driving Home from Christmas.
It's a great song.
Yeah.
And, of course, Emerson, Lake and Palmer weren't everybody's cup of tea. But
didn't they get into some big campaign to save the whale?
I think they might have done.
Because, you know what, I think I saw them perform once.
Did you?
And I think some bloke came on stage with a tuba that was shaped like a whale.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you sure you didn't imagine this?
No, I didn't imagine it at all.
Did you see it like the Albert Hall or somewhere?
It was in a cellar of a church in Westminster.
A cellar of a church?
Yeah.
What, Emerson, Lake and Palmer?
Yes, that's right,
Are
yeah.
you sure?
Yeah, I'm certain. It was a Christmas...
Emerson, Lake and Palmer were famous for being this very over-dramatic,
that's right,
overblown sort of, it was sort of pomp rock, they called it.
Well, it was a theatre or something like that. I don't know why I thought it was a cellar of a church. But
I don't know why I thought that either.
But no, it's true. And he had this tuba which he'd shaped into like a whale,
like a humpback whale.
Well, it was a typical whale, like a big blob, you know what I mean, with water coming out of its spout and all that kind of stuff.
You hadn't been drinking when you
No, I hadn't been drinking. No.
So there's a guy with a tuba shaped like a whale in the basement of a church, and you think it's Emerson, Lake and Palmer.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. Yeah,
I'm not convinced.
No, I'm sure it was. Yeah.
He's also in King Crimson. Remember them?
Now, King Crimson was led by Robert Fripp.
That's right.
And Robert Fripp had
in the
curly
court of the Crimson King,
ginger hair, and was married to the female pop star called. She was only small. She was around 5'2".
Yeah.
And her name was blonde-haired.
Are you thinking of Toyah?
Toyah Wilcox.
Yeah,
that was the name.
I interviewed her once.
Did you?
Yeah.
Very
nice woman.
I think
lives in Wiltshire.
Lives in Wiltshire.
Yeah.
She? Yeah.
I think they've split up now, haven't they?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't talk about people's marriages like that. It's very, it's very sensitive and precious.
Really? Well, you don't mind killing people off when they're not dead.
Well, that was a mistake. Now, what I was going to say is, I don't think I ever interviewed Toyah Wilcox, but I did interview that other girl singer of the age who sang "These Are the Decadent Days."
Hazel O'Connor.
Hazel O'Connor.
Yeah, I did her as well.
I interviewed her at the Roundhouse, and she was performing there. And I remember the feature editor ringing me up and saying, "What a fantastic intro, Michael, to your feature on."
This is why you're telling the story.
No.
Well, what was your fantastic intro?
What was the name again?
Hazel O'Connor.
Hazel O'Connor. It was Hazel O'Connor is bouncing around the was bouncing the roundhouse like an atomic-powered sparrow. And he thought the word...
Are you serious?
Yeah, he thought the phrase...
They actually ran that?
Yeah, he thought the phrase atomic-powered sparrow was so evocative.
No wonder the paper's gone down the pan.
Because she had sort of thin legs, but a sort of, a bigger body, so to speak, you know what I mean?
No, she didn't.
Yes, she did, yeah.
She did not.
No, she did.
No.
She did.
I interviewed her as well. She had a perfectly normal body, perfectly normal legs, and did not look anything like a sparrow.
Yeah, well, you didn't get anything out of it, mate, you see. That's your problem.
No, I did, actually. I got invited to a party that she threw some weeks later.
You were invited?
Yes.
Oh, were you?
Yeah.
Well, who were you looking for, then?
In those days?
Yeah.
I think I was doing it for Time Out or something.
Oh, it wasn't the cobbler then, or the grocer, or one of those magazines that you worked for?
No, funny enough, they weren't interested in rock and roll or musical acts.
I just wondered,
I was working for what you might regard as a sort of, lefty organ.
Really, yeah.
Time Out.
Oh, yeah, Time Out wasn't it? I mean, in fact, Time Out was... I shouldn't say this in case I'm... They preached... Not revolution, but
well, hang on. You just spent the first half of the show banging on about what a great guy John Lennon was.
Yes, that's right.
But all the things that he actually espoused, you despise.
What?
You despise all the things that he espoused.
No, I don't.
Like peace and
I want
sharing
peace.
Sharing
I like
of wealth.
Peace.
No, you don't.
I do.
You want war.
No, I don't. Who do I want war with?
You want to subjugate people that you don't like.
No, rubbish.
Yes,
That's nonsense. I want peace in the world, man.
Really?
I mean...
I want peace in the world, man, says Mike Parry.
Here, do you want another quote from Lennon?
No, I want another quote from you.
All right, I'll give you the quote then.
Yeah.
If everybody asked for peace instead of asking for a new television, we'd have peace.
How many televisions have you got?
6.
How many...
But I mean, that's not the issue.
How many Sky subscriptions have you got?
3. But that's not the issue. That's not the issue.
So if you actually got, you can still have a TV if you sort of managed to get rid of the other 5.
Yeah,
and that would help world peace.
No, it wouldn't. No, it wouldn't help world peace at all. I mean,
you're saying what he was saying about televisions was rubbish?
What I'm saying is, he said if everybody just thought the same way about going around blowing each other off, it wouldn't happen.
You don't want people to think the same way. That's communism to you.
No. You're absolutely right about that. Look,
you've spent the last sort of hour praising to the high heavens, those great temples of capitalism, the Shard, and this new building that's going up on the corner of Blackfriars Bridge.
Why not? They're magnificent buildings.
There's nothing wrong with that.
You can't.
But don't try and sell yourself
to
me
as some kind of... You can't build those in Cuba.
But don't try and sell yourself as some kind of man of the people that wants peace in the world, man. I mean, come off it.
I do want peace.
You hate cyclists.
I
you don't like people with rucksacks.
I tell you what.
You don't like people that wear flip-flops. You hate travelling in anything other than first class.
Hang on.
You refuse to get on a plane unless you're in a first-class lounge beforehand, getting bladdered on expensive Pinot Grigio.
What's that got to do with
it's not very Lennon-esque, is it?
It is. John Lennon wanted peace, and I want peace. Let's have world peace. I'm all for it. Anybody who doesn't want peace...
There's only one peace that you want.
Anybody who wants aggression and war and conflict is a nutter.
Really?
And should be, like that nutter who runs North Korea.
What about Vladimir Putin, who you very much admire?
Well, he doesn't want aggression or war. He wants the Western world to keep their nose out of the politics of Russia and its former satellite states because he feels he has to reform that part of the world. And there is a voice of opinion to say that he, believes in what he espouses and gets on with it in a way that perhaps some Western leaders don't.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, here's a present for you from one of our very loyal listeners, Simon.
Yes.
It's a perfect Christmas present for Porky. It's a 5-pack of Pierre Cardin boxers, 4 colour sets, only £19.
No, not for me, thank you.
There's 2 different versions of blue and 1 white.
No, not for me.
Have you seen, by the way, that Sports Direct are having a bit of a rant and rave about their the unjust prosecution and persecution of the company?
Not really, no. I've not
haven't seen that?
No. Is that Mike Ashley? Listen, I've got a great note here. Hi, lads. Toya and Robert are still together. They have a property in Pershore, and that comes from Lee.
Okay.
I know Pershore very well. It was on my patch when I was the Redditch district reporter for the Birmingham Evening Mail.
Well, I thought they used to live in Wiltshire.
Well, Pershore is like Evesham type way.
Is it?
So they might have moved from Wiltshire
I'm
there.
not doubting where you're saying it is.
Yes.
I'm just saying I thought they used to live in Wiltshire.
No, I don't know about that, mate. Right, it says here, hi guys, theme for the common man, ELP, not Conman, Eric Lepper from Aberdeen.
It's fanfare for the common man, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is something on ELP, not Conman. I don't know what he's talking about.
No.
I see.
Who's Eric Lepper?
Yeah, Eric Lepper sent that in from Aberdeen, yeah. It says, if you want to see something absolutely amazing, watch David Attenborough's film of a young buck giraffe fighting the old bull giraffe for control of the herd. Why would we want to watch that?
I just read Eric's message.
Yeah.
It's not Eric Lepper at all.
It is. It is?
I've got to go.
No.
Talk sport.
Who do you think it is?
Talk Sport. We are the two mics. Coming up in this hour, of course, it's going to be the Porky Quiz, which is on Rod Stewart.
Yeah.
I'm predicting 2 out of 10, despite the fact that he claims to be a good friend of yours.
Yes.
Maybe we should have Rod on to actually do a quiz on you. Maybe that would be more intelligent.
I think not.
Now, somebody sent in a great picture. Yeah. Porky wants peace in the world, and it's Rob who's done this. He's done you up as a, what could be described as a bit of a beatnik.
Yeah, beatnik hippie type. I mean, what's wrong with wanting peace? Everybody wants peace. That's not unusual. Everybody wants peace. The great trick of world leaders is how to achieve peace, without everybody falling out with each other. That's what happens all the time.
It's easier said than done. Bill says, in an attempt to appear interesting, I purchased pictures at an exhibition by ELP. I remember that one. It took 6 months of earache, but I learned to love it. And it didn't help me appear interesting, though. The ladies just thought I was a geek, so I switched to Led Zeppelin. Success.
Sorry, that was one of their albums, was it?
Pictures at an exhibition, yeah.
Oh, pictures at an exhibition, yeah.
Well, they had this kind of... very pompous sort of image.
Well, they played all these
electronic
rock organs, didn't they?
Well, it wasn't just that. It was the fact that they were very sort of self-absorbed. And, their songs were very long, and many of them were sort of without words.
Now, Lake, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, Greg Lake, was he the one who married Cher?
What?
Did he marry Cher?
Not as far as I'm aware.
Well, one of them married Cher, and she divorced him when he got so bladderated over lunch, he went face down into the soup and nearly drowned.
Are you sure you're not confusing him with somebody else?
Well, I might be, but I'm sure he was...
So one member of Emerson, Lake and Palmer married Cher and drowned in a bowl of soup.
Well, no, he didn't, but he could have done. Literally, I know that sounds like a joke. Yeah, that sounds like a joke, but apparently he went down in a very big bowl of soup, face forward.
What sort of soup was it?
I've no idea. I mean, don't be ridiculous. I'm just telling you.
You know the story.
Yeah, I do know the story.
I mean, was it a kind of a light consomme type soup?
Yeah, I think it was. I think it had
a lot of vegetables in it. Obviously, it'd be harder to go face down in.
Sure, yeah. I think it was one of those sort of things. But I'm trying to remember which. That was the guy with the long.
You're not thinking of Sonny Bono, are you?
No, I'm thinking of the guy with the long, very straw-coloured blonde hair that came down to his shoulders.
You're thinking of Greg Allman, aren't you?
Greg Allman. Is that Greg Allman?
No, he was not in Emerson, Lake and Palmer.
No,
otherwise it would be called Emerson, Lake and Allman.
No.
Allman, Lake and Palmer.
Well, listen.
He was in the Allman Brothers.
No, excuse me. You look it up and you'll find
that... she was not married to anyone from Emerson, Lake and Palmer.
So who was she married to?
She was married to Greg Allman.
Oh, well, that was him then, obviously.
From the Allman Brothers.
Yes, okay.
Who had very long blonde hair.
Oh, right, okay.
And wrote a song called Jessica.
Jessica, did he? Yeah.
Do you know that song?
That's
good enough.
Excuse me, thank you. I've got a bit of a throat today.
Yeah.
I think it's something to do with the atmosphere.
Well, it's very dry in here.
It is, yeah.
There's something wrong with the air conditioning.
There is, definitely, because in the last studio we were in, it was 33 degrees, even though it said 15 on the dial. So I think there's something going on with the system in here.
Yeah, absolutely right.
Yes.
Now, did I tell you the story that most interested me this morning? And it was about Hollywood.
Oh, yes.
Because the Forbes magazine, which we sometimes refer to as the magazine that does the rich list, the richest people in the world.
The billionaire's Bible.
And all that sort of thing, yes. Exactly. Well, do you know they've now done a list of the most overpaid actors in Hollywood?
Oh, have they?
Which is quite interesting.
Oh, excellent.
And what they've done is they've worked out basically how much actors are paid per movie.
Yes.
And then how much those movies make at the box office.
Yes,
and do you know who comes top of the most overpaid actors list?
Tom Cruise?
It's Johnny Depp.
Johnny Depp.
Depp.
Well, that doesn't surprise me.
Because they've worked out that he brings in, for every dollar that's paid to him by the production company, just $2.80. Which still means that the movie makes money.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So what you
say, for example, if the movie makes, say, if he's paid $100 million,
yes,
the movie makes $280 million.
Right. How much does the production costs take out of the 180 million left after Johnny Depp's had his 100 million?
Well, no, I think this is what's left after the whole business
is
done.
I see, right, okay.
So, I mean, he still makes money for the studio, but the ratio of how much money he makes as to the box office is not very good.
Because some of these actors are quite clever. They do percentage deals, don't they? If they bet on the film being a success, they'll go for a smaller fee and a bigger percentage deal, and they can make literally... 60, 70, 80 million dollars out of an arrangement like that.
Right.
Which I think
have a look at these figures. For example, his latest box office flop, Alice Through the Looking Glass, grossed only $77 million in the US and $300 million worldwide.
Yeah.
And the production cost of that was $170 million.
Right. Well, that's not bad, is it?
So they still made, 130.
That's what I'm saying. That doesn't seem like a bad investment to me. It's when you read these things like, what was that film that... Kevin, what's his name, made about Waterworld.
Oh, you mean Kevin Costner?
Kevin Costner, Waterworld.
Yeah.
And it was hugely expensive and a massive flop, wasn't it?
I think it was, yeah.
And then another one was made by, was it called Reds or Communism or something?
Reds.
Yeah,
Warren Beatty.
Diane
Keaton.
Yeah, wasn't that a massive flop?
It's all about the Russian Revolution.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if it was, actually.
I thought it was.
It was not. It was not a massive blockbuster success.
No, exactly, yeah.
But then it wasn't one of the most expensive films ever made. This is Depp's other problem. Last year's action comedy flop Mordecai made $47 million out of a $60 million budget.
So that's a loss of 13.
So that is a loss.
Yeah.
And then Transcendence just about broke even.
Yeah, really.
Which was 2014.
Really? Yeah.
But it's interesting because, for example, if the reason that he comes top of this particular list is $2.80 for every dollar paid. If you go to the other end of the top 10
of the scale,
you get Bradley Cooper, for example, who was in The Hangover, right?
Mm-hmm.
He makes you $12.10 for every dollar that you pay him.
Right, so you spend $100 million on a film and you get $1.2 billion back.
Yes.
Right.
That's generally speaking what you're looking at. Julia Roberts will bring you $10.80 back.
Really?
Leonardo DiCaprio will bring you $9.90.
Well, I'm surprised about that because I've never seen him make a bad film, really.
What?
Have you?
DiCaprio?
Yeah.
Well, not a bad film, no. But I mean, I haven't seen The Revenant. I don't know whether you've seen that. But
I haven't seen
really
it, but it got
me.
great write-ups, as being he's savage and all that.
Your
kind
mate
of stuff.
Will Ferrell, do you remember the guy that you'd never heard of?
That's right, yeah.
He makes $6.50 for every dollar you spend.
Well, that's pretty good, isn't it?
That's not bad at all. Will Smith, $5 is number 2.
Okay.
So basically, Johnny Depp, by a massive more than $3, is the worst value actor of all time.
What about that guy who used to get into trouble a lot because he got bladderated all the time, and then he made the film about Sherlock Holmes?
Hey,
little fella.
Oh, what, the guy from West Wing? Robert Downey Jr.?
Robert Downey Jr., that's him. Yeah. You got him in your list?
Well, he once ran naked down the street, didn't he, and broke into somebody's apartment.
Did he?
And asked them to bring the police on his behalf because he needed to be arrested.
Because he was having psychological problems.
He was having problems of all kinds.
Yeah, okay.
Taking too many drugs.
Yes.
But he's made an amazing comeback, though.
Excuse me. Well, he's...
And also, he makes a lot of money from the Iron Man films.
From the what?
Iron Man.
Is he Iron Man, is he?
Yeah, he's Iron Man.
Oh, he's not the guy who tracks Iron Man down or anything like that?
Iron Man.
Iron Man. Yeah. No.
Dear God.
No, that's...
any more from Eric?
No. Come on, let's not take the mickey.
Christian Brighton says, I don't get the hilarity behind the Porkmeister's latest faux pas.
Yes, well, I mean...
Please explain. Well, it was just something stupid. I mean, it doesn't really inevitably mean that you can explain everything, really. He mistook the name of a place for somebody's name and then mispronounced it. That's kind of where we are.
Oh, did I? I thought that was his surname.
No.
Mispronounced. Oh, I see.
No, that's where he's from.
Oh, I see. Oh, okay. Well, look, don't worry about that.
No.
Now then, do you use these...
I'm not sure you're going to ask me.
Wool cotton buds.
What?
Wool cotton buds.
Wool cotton buds?
Yeah.
Do you mean cotton buds?
I mean plastic cotton buds, actually. Sorry.
Plastic?
Yeah. I think ladies use them to smear, makeup on and all that, and take it off and all that kind of stuff. But they are...
Do you mean cotton wool?
No, I mean the cotton wool that's on a bit of plastic. You see what I mean? Cotton buds either end. You know what I'm talking about?
You mean on a stick?
On a stick, yeah. But it's a plastic stick. Sorry?
What would I use that for?
Well, I don't know. I know people use it for all sorts of things.
Do you use one?
No, but the point is that they are the most polluting element in the world at the moment.
Is that right?
And they need to be banned.
What, worse than diesel?
Worse than diesel, worse than plastic bags, worse than the little micro beads that are in scrub facials
I don't think they're
and all
worse
that
than
kind of stuff.
microbeads.
Yeah, I think they are.
Yeah, they're called Q-tips in America, aren't they?
It says all leading supermarkets have pledged to... Yes, they are, yes. Have pledged to stop selling cotton buds with plastic sticks because millions each day are flushed away and pollute rivers and the sea. Lidl have joined other retailers in promising to phase out the plastic stems by the end of next year. Okay?
Right.
They'll be replaced by ones made of rolled paper. Now, that's a better idea, isn't it?
Why?
Well, because that's biodegradable.
Well, yeah, but you still have to chop down the Amazon to make them work, don't you?
Yeah, but you don't then dispense with them and they don't get destroyed. Paper gets destroyed, doesn't it, naturally?
Well, it depends what it's treated with, really, doesn't it?
Yeah. Sorry?
It depends what it's treated with.
No, if you left a bit of paper out in the rain, it would get soggy, go wet, and then disappear.
If you take, say, for example, one of your sort of very expensive magazines, or you take one of those very expensive catalogues, and if you're having a bonfire, which I have from time to time, as you know, very much more difficult to burn and do away with those very thick colour pages.
Well, do you know why that is?
Because it's treated.
It's the application of kaolin, which is put into the glossy pages, which comes from clay.
That's what I'm saying, but the paper is treated, right? And it also has colour ink and stuff on it. So those are not as biodegradable, for example, as a bit of newspaper.
Anyway, it says here...
What do you mean anyway?
Well, yes, thank you for that
Anyway.
information. Yeah. No, now it says here, Natalie Fee, founder of the City to Sea Conservation Group, said, "We are delighted with the commitment from so many major supermarkets to switch the stick." That sounds like a Bob Bradley...
Switch the stick.
Switch the stick. Yeah, switch the stick from plastic to paper.
Yeah.
Birds and fish can be harmed by accidentally consuming the cotton bud stems, and the plastic can also act as a sponge for chemical pollutants.
Well, I'll make sure I don't
let you know that.
I'll make sure I don't buy any more Q-tips.
Yes,
over the
exactly,
course of the
yeah.
weekend. I don't use them anyway.
No,
Some
no.
people use them for their ears.
Yeah, you see, that's not good, because if you do, you leave remains of the cotton wool in your ear.
Yeah.
You should leave your ears alone. Your ears are your natural defence against germs and insects getting into your body.
Insects?
Yes, insects.
When's the last time an insect went in your ear?
Well, it can do. The reason why you produce wax in your ear, without getting into this rather unpleasant sort of
It's not
subject,
something I want to talk about.
is to stop anything entering your body and getting into your brain. That's why the wax is in your ear as a sort of
As a sort of insect repellent.
well, yes, sort of. I mean, it's like you know that sticky paper stuff that attracts flies and then they die when they hit it.
Fly paper.
Fly paper. That's right. Yeah. That's the same sort of thing. It's the same sort of principle. That's the principle it's based on.
Thank God it's nearly the end of the week. This is Talk Sport. This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on. We're back on the warm-up, of course, from at 11 o'clock on Saturday because
Yes.
Hawksbee and Jacobs, or at least one part of Hawksbee and Jacobs, are back tomorrow.
Right.
For some of you who have been testing the waters with us, and
Yes.
some of you have liked it, some of you have hated it. That's just the way it goes.
Well, I'm afraid it does.
Yeah.
Fortunately, more of you like it than dislike it,
Yes,
which
indeed.
is always the way that the equation should be.
It should,
Yes.
certainly for us.
Exactly. Otherwise, we'd
Now,
be out of work.
Porky has got in his hot little hand
Yes.
some wine bottles.
I have indeed.
I'm not sure that this is an entirely brilliant idea.
Well, I just want to say,
we should
first
start
of all,
drinking in the middle of the
I
afternoon.
want to say thank you to whoever sent me a case
What
of
do you mean,
6
whoever?
bottles of wine. Well, I don't know who it is. There was no letter with or anything.
Wasn't
with
Eric, was it?
No, it wasn't Eric, no. But it's come from... hang on, what is it?
Well, does it come from a particular vintner?
Yeah.
Well, could you tell us?
Sorry, Majestic. It's come from Majestic.
You
okay?
don't have to give that name away.
Why not? Because
Well,
it says on the box. Well, but I want to say to the person who sent it, thank you very much indeed. I don't know who
Maybe
you
get
are.
in touch and say who you are.
Didn't seem to be any letter attached to this.
Right.
And you've sent one box to myself, which is very kind, and one box to Mr. Brazil.
Yeah, how come I didn't get one?
Well, I don't know the answer to that one. This is why I think...
Are you sure? Because I
Certainly.
noticed that you lifted this stuff off the floor yesterday.
I did.
Downstairs.
Yeah.
Without actually revealing any of
Which,
it to me.
incidentally,
And
absolutely
you just sort of
wrecked
hurriedly...
my...
You were very shocked to see me as well, because you didn't really thought I'd gone.
No, I didn't.
Yes,
no,
you did.
No, I
you
wasn't
thought I'd
shocked.
left.
The reason you saw shock in my eyes is because as I picked it up, I suddenly went into spasm in my back again because my sciatica suddenly returned after
Really?
I'd spent a week on the heat treatment trying to get rid of it.
Well, that'll teach you to pick
Yeah.
up cases of wine.
Yeah.
Anyway, Oz Clark is a far more
Excellent.
refined and renowned expert on the old vino than we are,
Yes.
even though we may have drunk quite a lot of it in our time. And he's on the show.
Lovely.
Right here. Oz, a very good afternoon.
How are you two?
Hi, Oz. Thanks very much.
Arguing about a case of wine at your age. When did you grow up?
I know, it's disgraceful, isn't it? You
On the
know?
other
what do you
hand,
mean?
no one sent me a case of Majestic wine on my
exactly.
front door. I get a lot of stuff on my front door, but Majestic are not one of them.
No.
Really? Yeah,
Well,
well.
funnily enough, as I say, this case of wine appeared out of nowhere, and as luck would have it, we wanted to talk to you about sort of Christmas drinking and what wines we should get and all that kind of thing. But Porky's got this idea that he wants to try and describe some wine to you without giving it away to me, and then giving it to me to taste to see whether or not I can get a guess what it is.
Well, just to see what it is. I mean, Oz, listen.
Is that out of your Majestic case you're doing that?
It's out the Majestic case, yeah.
Well, at least
yeah.
the stuff should be half decent then.
Oh, you think so? Well, that's quite a nice endorsement, isn't it? Anyway,
Could you mind not endorsing it, please?
Well, excuse me. Now, this first one, Oz, it says, a vibrant straw yellow in colour with notes of ripe lemon coupled with green apple and grapefruit characters, persistent, round and full-bodied. This is a well-balanced wine with an impressive and zippy freshness.
Zippy?
Yeah, I've never heard that before. No, I'm just now pouring a glass. Can people hear the glug, glug, glug? Yeah. I'm handing it to MJ.
It's
Now,
a very
MJ,
large glass, that, for tasting
Have a
purposes.
swig of that, please.
Yeah,
It sounds like about £5 a word from
It's
the
not,
advertising
it's not,
agency.
I mean,
It certainly
of course
does.
they would say that on the
I mean,
bottle, wouldn't
frankly,
they?
when you look at the back label sometimes, sometimes you just think, you people had a really slow morning, didn't you? You
That's
just
right.
couldn't do anything to... I've had to do some of those write-ups for wine sometimes. After you've done about 20, you just think, my head...
Do you not ever feel tempted
to say?
Yeah, do you not ever tempted to write, you know what, actually, this is absolutely awful, but if you've had a few bottles already, this would be a good one to get down your neck.
Right.
Now
that's probably exactly where to sell it. There used to be a bloke on the Observer or somewhere like that, or Spectator, who used to write these tasting notes saying, my dog would be sick if he drank this, and they used to sell shed loads of it.
Do you know what? I used to read that. It was in the Spectator column. You're right. It was a column in the Spectator.
Evelyn Moore's
son. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. This tastes
to me like some kind of a Sauvignon.
Some kind of Sauvignon. Well, I'm going to tell you.
Sauvignon, is it a Vermentino or something like that?
Well, here, I'll tell you what it is now, Oz, and you can tell us all about it. It's a Martin Kodak's Albarino 2015.
Excellent.
Yeah?
It comes from the northwest of Spain.
Oh,
where
right.
It's actually wetter than Manchester.
Really?
But luckily, it's a bit warmer.
Wow.
And it's wetter at slightly different times.
Is it?
And it's this Albarino grape. That's actually one of the coolest wines on the market this Christmas.
It's nice.
Is it really?
But it does taste a bit Sauvignon-like. Yeah. Did I get that wrong?
But the thing is, people use that as a sort of European version of like New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc.
Because that's what it tastes a bit like. That. That's really nice.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what,
it is a bit yellow.
Right.
A bit yellow, and Sauvignon would be a bit greener, and it is zippy. Because the vineyards are right down. You can see the sea. Sometimes actually, when the vintage has been a bit rough, you can almost taste the seawater.
Is this like sort of San Sebastian, that sort of area?
Oh, the other side. Right down towards Vigo. You go up to Spain and then suddenly...
Oh, sort of round the corner.
That's the bit where it drops off the end of the world.
Oh, I see.
Very good.
Nicer, but you've got to take an umbrella.
I'm not a Sauvignon man, actually, so it's good you tasted it. I'm just tasting the red here.
Well, you're not supposed to be tasting it. You're supposed to be giving it to me to taste.
Yeah, but I'm going to taste the red and you're tasting the white, so hang on a second.
Well, how does it work now with me saying, with you describing to me what it is?
I'm going to...
Are you sure that box didn't just say, to Mike, with love?
No, it didn't.
I bet it did. I bet there was no surname on it.
It said to me. Now, I'll just give you a clue here, Oz. It says, many harvests ago, Susanna Balbo learned the great wines... Susanna Balbo learned that great wines start in the vineyard. Ben Marco Wines pay homage to the people who care for these vineyards and the pride and passion they feel.
That sounds like Argentina to me. It sounds like a Malbec.
You are brilliant. It is Ben Marco Plata Special Edition Mendoza Malbec 2013.
Wow. That's really impressive, I have to say, Oz.
That should be juicy. Yeah. I mean, that just shows I'm thirsty. Because I was funny enough.
Malbec will be wasted.
In the house here and thinking, what can I get myself? Like 2 minutes before I'm on with you boys, and I thought, what can I get myself in the mood for? I thought, nice glass full of Malbec. I couldn't find one. I just turned up at your place.
At your house, have you got a massive collection of wine that you kind of have timed to open at certain points of the year or in the future?
Points of the day.
Points of the day. No, but too, have you got because I've never been able to collect wine. My sister's much better at it than me because if I can keep wine in the house for maybe a month or two.
Yes.
If there's enough of it. But I haven't got the patience to keep it for, say, 2 years and then drink it then. Excuse me, I'm asking you a question.
I lose my stuff. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
And you go under the stairs sometimes and you flail about the place and clamber over everything and say, bloody hell, what's that? And it's a sample you should have written about 6 years ago and it's still there. Sometimes it's absolutely fantastic.
Still there. Now,
are you going to give me this Malbec, by the way?
No, because I'm tasting it. I'm going to give you another white in a minute. Just hang on a sec.
I haven't got all day.
All right, okay.
It shows over in half an hour.
I'll give you a glass of Malbec. Now, you're so good at these locations, Oz, I thought I'd just tell you. It says on the label at the back, the vineyards that source this wine are located in Vista Flores, Valle de Uco, which is a high desert. No, it's called high desert, and 900 metres elevation with plenty of sunshine.
Well, actually, slightly more than that. I think they're being a bit... Vista Flores is at the bottom of the Valle d'Uca. Mendoza is this fantastic town right on the bottom of the Andes.
Yeah.
And there's one side valley that starts going up because, you look in Mendoza, you wake up in the morning and you're just surrounded, covered by Andes.
Right.
There's a little side valley that goes up, the Uco Valley, and that gets higher. So you actually get to about 1,100, 1,200 up there.
Yeah.
Vista Flores is at the lower end.
Right.
I bet the Balbos have got... At least I know that Susanna Balbo has got vineyards further up.
Really?
Think about Mendoza. It's basically a desert.
Yeah.
The sun shines all the time, but the higher you go, the colder it gets. Just like when you go skiing, you're down at the valley, you think, Jesus, this is hot. You go to the top of the mountain, exactly the same sunshine, and you think, God, I wish I brought a sweater with me.
I bet you do.
The higher you go, The colder it gets, the fresher the wine.
Really? That's
this
fantastic.
Malbec is lovely.
It is absolutely lovely.
Do you like that, do you?
Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
So Oz, just let's move away from Mr. Parry.
It's a good tip for all the Gillingham supporters listening. Look for the word Uco Valley on an Argentine Malbec, and it'll be fresher and brighter.
Okay,
really? That's brilliant.
Very good.
UCO, it's dead simple.
Now, now Christmas is obviously not fast approaching, and you've written many books. I've got one of your books at home actually on how to learn a little bit about wine and little tips here and there. I mean, is there anything that's different this year about the wine business, the wine markets? Prosecco has obviously taken off in a massive way. Yeah. More people will buy that now.
Is there a new region in the world somewhere we should be looking to?
Well, do you mind if I ask the questions? You know nothing about wine. It's better
should ask
if you
them quicker.
Well, if you hadn't taken so long reading out all the piffle from your favourite wine warehouse,
Oz
I haven't paid you to come on here.
Oz and I are on the same
Anyway, sorry,
wavelength here.
Please ignore him, Oz.
This is a paid gig for him, I reckon.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, sponsored by and all that. Is there anything new that's kind of grabbing people's attention aside from the Prosecco phenomenon?
Well, Prosecco is obviously going bonkers at the moment, and there's lots of good stuff around. It's party pop Prosecco, that's the point. It's not as serious as champagne. It's not so hard work. And the thing that you might just think about with the Brexit vote and everything is English wine. Because English wine is better than it's ever been. In a way, I would say, if you want to save a bit of money, buy Prosecco. If you want to really push the boat out, buy some English sparkling wine.
Yes.
You say it should be cheaper.
Well, we were talking about this stuff that's now going to be called Sussex, which has actually got this kind of mark on it. Is that any good? Because I actually got a place down there and I haven't tried it yet.
Yeah.
Well, I hope it's not called Sussex. I mean, if it comes from Sussex, it's fantastic, but it's no better than Hampshire, and it's no better than Kent, and it's no better than Dorset, but it is different. I think this whole idea of saying, I'm not quite sure with you boys how much language I can use.
No, well, that's okay.
But I think that it's rubbish, to be honest. They've only been going, 20 years in Sussex. You take a lot longer than that to work out what's best and what's not. And also, half the people in Sussex blend grapes from elsewhere anyway. So Sussex is a fantastic place to grow grapes. I mean, basically the conditions there are like they were in Champagne 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And the soil's the same, the climate's the same, the grapes are the same, and people are actually much keener to make really top stuff.
Yeah, the only difference is it's full of half-bakes like Mike Graham these days. Just very quick...
thank you, Voz. We're out of time, unfortunately.
Very quickly.
We're out of time.
Very quickly, Oz. Family estate owned by viticulture pioneers Neil and Judy Ibbotson, who planted grapes in Marlborough in 1978.
Bloody good Pinot Noir and bloody good Sauvignon Blanc. I mean, both excellent. St Clair is their
That's
vineyard.
One. This is a St Clair family estate, Pioneer Block, 2015 Sauvignon Blanc.
Absolutely
Again.
delicious. I would slap it back as soon as you finish the show.
Sauvignon Blanc.
Sounds great.
I think you just said. Oh, thank you very much indeed. I'm sorry about all the interruptions from the man sponsored by that wine house. We've got no more time for you on this because the Porky Quiz is up next.
If you think I'm sexy and you're done to love me, come on, baby, open wide. If you think I'm groovy and you want to smooch me, come on, baby, by my side. I need a helping hand. Oh, maybe I wish I could sing your
That can only be described as your previous attempts at showing how much you know about Rod Stewart.
Well, come on. When
Getting
you're singing,
the words wrong.
When you're singing karaoke at the Christmas party and you've had a few sherbets, then it's not going to sound like a studio-produced Rod Stewart record, considering he's one of the finest that has ever picked up a microphone.
And a good personal friend of yours as well.
Well, that's his words, not mine.
They were his words, not yours. Absolutely right. Now, you have chosen as your quiz subject this week Rod Stewart, your personal friend. And, of course, as ever, there are 10 questions. Yep. All of them have one correct answer only.
Okay.
You will not be given half a point for talking about it around and around and around for no reason at all.
Okay.
There will also be a complete score given out at the end, which will not be in any way debatable. Right. You happy with those conditions?
Yes, providing you don't gerrymander any of them.
Well, I don't write the questions, as you know. Now, if you get one right, you will hear this sound.
Stay with me.
If you get one wrong, you will hear this sound.
They told me you missed school today.
Okay, right? Ready?
Yes.
Now, the first question starts with a piece of music.
You wear it well, a little old-fashioned, but that's all right. Well, I suppose you're thinking I'll bet.
This song song?
That's my favourite Rod Stewart track.
Is that right?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Well, this could be a good way to start.
Most people get plumb for Maggie May from the sort of populist years of Rod, but I always loved that one. Yeah.
Do you want to hear the chorus? Do you want us to keep going?
No,
it's
fine. No, it's fine.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great.
It was number 1 in 1972.
Right.
What was the name of the album it was on?
Every Picture Tells a Story.
Incorrect.
No!
It was Never a Dull Moment.
Never a dull moment. Oh. Do you know, I was so sure about that, I just snapped out the answer. I should have stopped and thought. I'll stop and think for the next.
All right, we'll stop and think for the next question, number 2.
Right.
Which band did Rod Stewart join in 1964?
1964?
Yeah.
I believe he then joined the Jeff Beck Band.
Incorrect.
No!
It was Long John Baldry and the All-Stars.
Well, that's the same one.
No, it isn't.
Well, it was the precursor to it.
Doesn't matter. It's incorrect.
Well, look, hang on. Long John Baldry didn't have a band.
He did Long John Baldry and the All-Stars.
Yeah, but he didn't officially join. He just helped them out. You know the
There's
words.
No point arguing.
You know the words to Maggie May or Find Myself a Rock and Roll Band who needs a helping hand. That was written about his association with Long John Baldry.
Yeah, that's right.
He didn't actually join the band.
Yes. Well,
he just gave them a hand.
Yeah. Question number 3.
Yeah.
How many top 10 singles has Rod had in the US Billboard charts?
Top 10 singles, US Billboard chart. He's had. Now, I'm thinking aloud here, The first number that came into my head was 10, because I was just counting them up very quickly. But I went beyond the 10 to 16. So
why are you looking at me with that weird look in your eyes, which you're always looking like when you're somehow cheating?
No, it's either 10 or 16, and I'm going to plump for, because I think he's had a lot of... 10.
Incorrect.
No! How many is it?
16.
No! That's not fair.
Why?
I said to you 10 or 16, and
you went for 10.
And your eyebrows didn't move.
Listen, it's nothing to do with my eyebrows.
And I got that nearly right.
On my eyebrows. Now, have a listen to this piece of music.
Yes. Right.
You want to hear any more?
No, I know where we are.
Okay.
Yeah.
In what year did this song reach number 3 in the UK chart?
Number 3 in the UK charts. That one?
Yeah.
That one? That was 1977.
Incorrect.
No!
It's 1990.
1990. Yeah.
Question number 5. Yeah. So far, 0.
I think he wrote it in 1977. I do remember that. I remember seeing the credits on it.
It doesn't matter when he wrote it.
Stewart, 1977. Because you always put down the date of when you wrote the song.
Why would he wait 23 years to release it?
No, he didn't. It was 13 years, wasn't it? 1977 to 1990.
Right.
Well, I mean, Paul McCartney wrote some of the songs that came out 30 years later when he was 14.
Wasting valuable time. Question number 5. Rod received a Grammy in 2005 for Best Traditional Pop Vocal Album.
Right.
What was the name of the album?
It was The Great American Songbook.
Incorrect.
No!
Actually, I'll give you that.
Thank you.
It was, in fact, Stardust, The Great American Songbook, Volume 3.
Thank you very much.
So that is actually me being very generous.
Trying to gerrymander me there,
You've got 0 out of 5.
Hey, no, not at all.
All right, question number 6.
Yes.
Who called Rod Stewart the best white soul singer in 2006?
Without a shadow of a doubt, it was the king of soul, James Brown.
Correct.
Hey! Woo! Woo! Woo!
That's 2 out of 6.
Hey.
Question number 7.
Yes.
Have you ever seen Rod Stewart live?
What?
Have you ever seen Rod Stewart live?
Do you mean, have I ever seen a living Rod Stewart in front of me?
No,
or
have you
I
ever
seen
seen Rod Stewart live in concert?
Performing?
Yes.
In concert?
Yes.
Sorry, is that a question in the quiz?
That's a question in the quiz. So you don't bear it, can you? Because you want to tell a lie to say that you have seen him live when you know that the correct answer...
I'm just trying to think of all the bands he was in before.
The correct answer is no, isn't it?
Well, hang on.
The correct answer is no.
Hang on.
Are you going to say correct answer? You want to get a point or not? Or are you going to tell lies to make out like you've seen
hang on, because he had a stellar career as a member of bands before he became the greatest solo artist in the world.
Maybe you saw him when he was in the Long John Baldry band.
I saw Long John Baldry. You won't believe it, on the QE2. When I was on the QE2, Long John Baldry was the resident band.
Was he?
Yeah. The answer is no.
Correct.
Hooray! Woo, woo, woo,
you see, your absolute greed and lust for power have made you admit that you've never seen your best friend, Rod Stewart, in concert ever in all the years that you've known him.
Yeah, but lots of...
Why has he never invited you?
I've never been able to make it, to be honest, you know.
All right. So you now got 3 out of 7 so far. Question number 8. Have a listen to this.
I am sailing home again. across the sea.
Great song.
I am sailing.
I don't want you joining in either.
Stormy water.
No, I love this song.
There?
To be near you.
Don't join in.
It's a great song. I'm not going to join in.
Be free.
Can you hear me?
It's not the right words.
Can you see me? Yeah.
Right, here's the question.
Right.
This was one of several hits from the best-selling album Atlantic Crossing.
Yes.
Who wrote it?
Who wrote that song?
Who wrote it?
That song was written by... in collaboration with Rod, you mean?
I'm asking you who wrote the song. I'm not talking about collaboration or anything else.
Okay.
I'm not saying there was collaboration or there wasn't collaboration.
It was the theme music to a documentary on the Ark Royal.
All I'm asking
going around the world. Do you know that?
Yes.
The Ark Royal?
Yes.
That was the one that David Cameron confined to the scrap heap, and I've never forgiven him.
Yeah, I know that.
Okay? Because every time I saw it, it used to remind me of Rod's song Sailing.
You mentioned that
yesterday. It's parked up below my balcony in Portsmouth, the Ark Royal. Right, I believe that song was written by...
Go on. It's not a trick question.
Not a trick question.
No.
It was written by Rod Stewart and another person. And the other person...
Who was the other person?
Neil Diamond.
Incorrect.
No!
It wasn't written by Rod Stewart at all. It was written by Gavin Sutherland
Who's
of
he?
the Sutherland Brothers.
Oh, I see.
You remember the Sutherland Brothers?
Yes.
Right.
Do you know what? I think Rod Stewart will be so fed up that I've suggested that Neil Diamond would write a song for him.
Well,
because it's a different sort of
it
music.
could be the end of your friendship.
But Neil Diamond used to write songs for the Monkees.
Yeah, you wrote songs for lots of people.
He wrote... which one did he write? Was it Last Train to...
Daydream Believer.
Was it? Yeah. I thought it was Last Train to Clacksville.
Clacksville? Where's that?
That's in the song title.
Clarksville?
No, it's called Clacksville.
It's Clarksville.
Clackville.
No,
Clacksville.
It's Last Train to
Clarksville.
Clarksville.
Get on with it.
Question number 9. Rod's second wife was New Zealand-born model Rachel Hunter.
Yes.
When did they marry?
When did they marry? Let me see. Because his first wife was when he was very young.
Did you go to the wedding?
No.
You
It was in Australia. I couldn't get
Do you mind not sticking your finger in your mouth while you're answering the questions?
Excuse me. I was chewing my finger like this.
Well, I thought as a friend of his, you'd have gone to his wedding.
Well, you know, I can't quite explain the detailed and intimate relationship that I have with every friend I've got.
I once spoke to Rachel Hunter. She rang my office in New York once to speak to one of the guys that was working for me.
Oh, yes,
He was an Australian guy.
Nice lady. Yeah.
She had an amazingly New Zealandish voice, though.
Did she?
Yeah.
Right, and you want to know what year they got married?
She rang and she was like, "Hello."
Yeah.
I said, "Hi, who's this?"
Yeah.
"It's Rachel Hunter here." I was like, "Really? Can I speak to Mike O'Regan?" I mean, it's a terrible voice.
Yeah.
For such a beautiful woman.
Well, he was an Aussie as well, wasn't he, Mike?
He was. So
Right.
when did they marry?
They
See
got
the time, by the way.
They got married in 1985.
Incorrect.
No.
So you've got 3 out of 9.
What year was it?
1990.
1990. Well, I think they started going out with each other in 1985. Made plans to marry then.
Now, you may hear a piece of music in a little while, but not just now.
Okay.
There was an album called Blondes Have More Fun.
Yes.
It was released in November 1978.
Yes.
What was the number 1 single from the album?
From the album. The number 1 signal.
Yes.
Blondes Have More Fun.
Yes.
Hot Legs.
Incorrect.
No!
Can we give him a blast of what was the actual number 1 song?
If you think I'm sexy and you're done to love me, come on, baby, open wide.
Yep.
If you think I'm
Is that one, was it?
groovy
Do you
and
think I'm
wanna
sexy?
smooch
Yeah,
me,
do you think I'm
come
sexy,
on,
yeah.
baby, by my side.
Okay, that was a bit of a blunder.
So,
Bit of a blunder.
you've done slightly better than I predicted.
Right.
I predicted 2 out of 10. You got 3 out of 10.
Oh, yeah?
On
Is that all 10 questions?
That's all 10
Doesn't
questions.
seem like 10.
Well, I mean,
like
time
8.
flies on this show.
Yeah, sure.
You
yeah.
had 10 questions.
Yeah.
I'm
Well, I
afraid.
think I did pretty well there because although I only officially have got 3 out of 10,
Yeah.
I got so close on
You
another
didn't.
3, it could have been
Naturally,
6.
you didn't come
I
close
did.
on any of them.
I did.
No.
What about 10 and 16? I was a whisker away from getting 16. I
Well-
would have had 4 out of 10.
Well, you chose wrong, though.
Yeah,
You
but that's
chose
only
10.
because you gave me an evil stare when
No.
I mentioned 16.
There's nothing to do with my reaction to it. It's nothing to do with that. You either know or you don't know. And to be honest, I'm rather suspicious of how you had 10 or 16. I mean, who would pick those 2 numbers unless they were cheating?
Well, because I've kept track of Rod's
Really?
career, and one of those figures is in the back of my head.
Really?
Yes.
That was a Porky quiz. An absolute failure. This
No.
is Talk Sport.
Success.
Madness, they call it.
This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mikes. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on. 6 p.m. tonight, of course, the Europa League action is back. Zorya Luhansk are taking on Manchester United. It's live on Talk Sport. Yep. Let's go to Dom McGuinness and find out what's going on. Dom.
How are you doing, fellas?
Yeah, not bad at all. Not bad at all. Very cold out in Ukraine, I understand.
Yeah, but obviously the pitch inspection was positive, and despite the fact that the United players were not too happy with the surface when they were training on it yesterday, it has mellowed in terms of weather-wise, and it will go ahead. So, yeah, the surface isn't going to be brilliant, I think, whatever happens. But the match, obviously, when you get to this stage, and even though next week, Luhansk will be in their winter break, so it just tells you that obviously football isn't really for this time of year in Ukraine.
Well, the thing is, Dom, this is the brutal reality of not being in the Champions League, isn't it? You could say, you could always get a team in the Champions League, got similar conditions, but not on a Thursday night, not in this part of the Ukraine, not to a rundown sort of football team who aren't in the Champions League. It's a brutal reality of not making the Champions League.
Makes for interesting trips, though.
Well, you say interesting, but I bet you Jose Mourinho would rather literally cut off 2 of his toes than have to make this trip.
He may have to do that when he gets back.
Well, you might have to.
Well, you can put that to him if you like, but I know that Jose said everything was fine. He's not happy about the pitch. Obviously, everything else was fine in terms of accommodation and travel and everything. It isn't a rundown part of the world. You're talking about Odessa. Remember that obviously Luhansk aren't playing where they're from, in Luhansk in eastern Ukraine, because it's too dodgy. There's still the conflict going on.
That's exactly what I mean. I wasn't talking about where they're playing. I was talking about where the team comes from.
Well, yes, but United aren't bothered about that because they're playing in Odessa, which is perfectly fine. So, they're 500 kilometres from where they should really be playing, but that's been helpful to everything in terms of travel, in terms of accommodation, in terms of the fact that, it is just an all-round better place to be.
But they've still got a big game against Spurs, which you might... I mean, I know that, they expect to get a positive result out of this game tonight, and we would expect that as well. But, Jose Mourinho's focus surely must be on the Spurs game.
Yeah, but the fact of the matter is now, I mean, Jose Mourinho has spoken about the need to go as far as they can. United have never won this competition. There's 2 reasons why he has to take this seriously, and he has, or 3 if you could argue. Firstly, you could say that the results have only really happened in this competition for Manchester United so far in terms of scoring goals and obviously getting over the line against teams and making life pretty easy for themselves. Secondly, United have never won this competition. Jose Mourinho has with Porto back in 2003 when they edged past Celtic. He's been there before. United never won it, so that's a reason for United to take it seriously. And then the most crucial one of all, it's possibly United's best chance of Champions League football, of course, if they go all the way, and they are favourites in the tournament as well. Spurs dropping into it makes it interesting. Big teams like Roma in it, but if United can get the point they need against Zoya, get into the last 32, it's put to bed for a while, and they can concentrate on Spurs and everything else with the festive period. I think Spurs at the weekend, obviously a fascinating game, but they've just got to get over the line, get back as quick as possible, and that's what he'll be trying to do.
Yeah,
Dom, thank you very much.
Thanks,
indeed. Zorya Luhansk against Manchester United tonight, live right here on TalkSport, 6 o'clock. Keep an eye out for all of that. How about this from Russ?
Yep.
Lots and lots of tweets have come in response to your performance on the quiz.
Yes.
Mike Parry, the most inept Rod Stewart fan in existence.
Oh, that's nice.
An embarrassing portrayal of genuine Rod Stewart fans. And somebody on Facebook actually sent me a response to the to the fact that you were doing the Porky quiz on Rod Stewart, to say that she was going to see Rod Stewart tonight.
Oh.
Who I think is playing in Manchester tonight.
Was it Leeds last night?
I believe it was
told
Leeds.
Us he was in the north
the night before last, I think.
Was it?
A couple of
Okay,
nights in Manchester, and then he's coming to the O2. How
Yeah.
about this one from Mark in Dagenham, which kind of sums up the shows that we've been doing here.
Right.
Jency says, you've been brilliant as always. Mike Graham, I wish I was more like you, as you seem to be so tolerant, and you live and let live. Isn't that nice?
What?
Mark in Dagenham.
He says what? Mike Graham,
Says I'm
I
tolerant.
wish I was more like you.
Yeah.
You're tolerant.
Yeah.
You're not tolerant. You're completely intolerant. I'm the tolerant person. I'm the one who takes all the barbs and slings and arrows of outrageous fortune and swats them away and gets on with life. You see life in black and white. I don't.
You don't sound very tolerant to me. This is TalkSport. Don't forget to follow the Two Mikes at the Two Mikes on Twitter and on YouTube. Just look for Two Mikes TV.
You got
gotta push the envelope. And I've got a lot of people on my radar.
And also, make some plays.
Make some plays. You know, we've done a good game. I won't forget this game for a long time. I'm not surprised, the only one you've won. He doesn't do himself any favour looking like a billiard ball, does he?
You could have conversations with him, and he knew what he was talking about. So he would say, Alex wants a peanut, and you put a walnut in front of him, and you say, no, Alex wants peanut.
Really?
Nobody cares about giraffes going because you can't feed a giraffe, you know what I mean? Hi guys, theme for the common man, ELP, not conman. Eric Lepper. Conman, I don't know what he's talking about.
No.
Oh, I see.
Who's Eric Lepper? I just read Eric's message.
Yeah.
It's not Eric Lepper or something.
It is. It's either 10 or 16, and I'm going to plump for, because I think he's had a lot of... 10.
Incorrect.
No! How many is it?
16.
No!